Tonight was supposed to be a night of celebration and of reflection for all that this Florida State football program had accomplished in just a couple of years' time. And for a brief moment, it was, but then about a half a quarter into the football game, it turned into a night of dejection, a night in which there was a feeling in the pit of your stomachs if you were watching this game on television across the country, or if you were in Doak Campbell Stadium and you saw the injury yourself. But a figure, a person who was celebrated as the face of the change, the rapid change you had seen from a team that went under 500 to a team that is now squarely in the college football playoff chase. That player went down and he was injured. Jordan Travis, halfway through the first quarter, was brought down after a quarterback run of about 15 yards by several North Alabama Lions. And as he was going to the turf, suffered one of the most horrific injuries you have ever seen in program history for Florida State. So we say, before we begin tonight's program, Gene Williams, Warchant.com, founder and administrator, my name is Tom Lang. Everybody that's associated with Florida State athletics, whether you're in the media like us, whether you're the fans in the stands or watching across the country, or you're with the university itself, or Jordan or his family, our thoughts are with you, Jordan Travis, and we wish you a speedy recovery, and we salute you for a tremendous, tremendous career in the Garnet and Gold. Florida State would go on from that point when Jordan Travis was injured and Florida State was down 13-0 to score all the remaining points in the game, save for something happening here in the final few moments. Florida State improves to 11-0, but bittersweet doesn't even begin to describe the night that we have just experienced over the last 3.5 to 4 hours. We now begin the Warchant Gameday Postgame call-in show. He is Gene Williams. My name is Tom Lang, and Gene, it's a tough one. This is as different a postgame show and one that we'd never ever wanted to do in the history of this show. This is an interesting night.
Yeah, the story isn't the score, FSU falling behind. It's Jordan Travis, and it starts with the young man who's given so much, so likable, and has given so much to this program. Tom, you said it very eloquently when you said kind of like he personifies what has happened with this program the last few years, from where he has gone in his career, where Florida State was just a couple of years ago to where they are now. And much of it is attributed to that young man and what he has done through his hard work and through his leadership. And again, we don't know. I mean, all of you saw, anybody I'm sure who's watching this probably saw the play or saw a replay of it. CW sure didn't mind playing that over and over and over again. I'm not going to get into that. But so we're just going to assume probably his time at Florida State is over. I hope I'm wrong. It would be great if he could come back. I don't see that happening. So it's just, first of all, for him and his family, his teammates, everybody else, just best wishes, hopefully for a quick recovery. I have no doubt that young man's going to be playing on Sundays, and I look forward to seeing him being able to do that. Hopefully he recovers quickly from whatever injury that is. But, you know, then, of course, it does put a major damper, obviously, on Florida State's season. He's the heart and soul of your team. He's your leader. He's your best player. And lose him in any fashion like this is awful, but to lose him to what is basically a glorified scrimmage, it's just it's so difficult to stomach. It'd be, you know, again, wouldn't matter if it's in the fourth quarter of a tight game against a rival, but still, it just seems so useless for his career to end in that circumstances. And it's frustrating because he obviously, what he's done so many times for this team, when they are down, when they need a spark, Jordan steps up time and time again. He's done it, and it's worked every time. And team got off to a horribly sluggish, ridiculous start. And he wanted to make a play, and he did make a play, but, you know, this time it obviously cost him on that. And it's just, it's a shame. I mean, what can I say? I mean, he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest players put on the Garnet and Gold. You know, we're going to have all the memories of him playing and all the things he's done. But yeah, just a really rough night. And we're going to talk some about the game sure tonight, but it's hard to really focus on anything from this game. Florida State ended up final. I think there's 9 seconds left in the game, but it's effectively over for all intents and purposes. They're going to be 11-0, which is great, but it really, and we'll get into that too. What does this mean for this team going forward? What does it mean for their playoff hopes? And what does it mean if they get in the playoffs without Jordan Travis? Obviously, a lot of big questions to address, and we'll take your questions on comments and then phone calls here shortly. And I'm sure that's going to be the number one topic, Tom, throughout the rest of the night.
That's got to be. It's just it's numbing. And again, you know, this is secondary to Jordan's, you know, health and Jordan's career. So we all understand.
Well, it looks like Florida State scored in the last play. I don't know if they blocked it. Something happened. There was some kind of turnover on the last play. So Florida State gets to rub a little salt in that wound. It just wasn't a very classy North Alabama team. And I don't know if that play was dirty or not, but they were definitely very chippy out there. A lot of stuff I did not appreciate. So I don't really mind rubbing it in their face on a final score.
Yeah, it's there are circumstances that affect Florida State football. First and foremost, that moment that Jordan goes down, and look, the television cameras captured it very clearly live in the moment. It's one of those things, Gene, where you've seen horrific injuries in sport across them all, and it doesn't make sense to your brain at first. You're saying that's an optical illusion, and then you realize it's not an optical
Yeah, when you're
illusion.
looking at that leg and you're going, something doesn't look right. It
Yep.
took me a minute to completely process, and then I was in shock. Like, this can't be happening.
No, it's a moment that makes you gasp. And he's down on the ground, he's in pain, and you see Trey Benson on a knee. He's just weeping, and he's being consoled by Kevin Noles. And the moment as it's passing, you're in disbelief and hope for him that he'll be okay. As he's loaded onto the cart, the entirety of Florida State's roster spills onto the field to show their support. And the camera work from the television broadcast wasn't great initially, in that you couldn't see what was happening. They were giving you like the helicopter camera of him being removed from the field, but it did cut back just in time to see Jordan touch his heart and then point to the crowd and thank them for their support. And it's just a moment that you were hoping, Gene, there was a sentimental factor to tonight that was all about Jordan walking out of the tunnel, as he did about 30, 40 minutes earlier, to take a photo with Mike Norvell, to take a photo with his family, to be presented on senior night as so many have. And it's a right, and it's a right that he's earned. It ends in a different sentimental way. And it's a brutal, brutal night for this program. It's a sad night for this program. And it's just one that we will continue as the broadcast on to document, Gene, because Tate Rodemaker is now your starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. And then the implications of what it means in terms of the playoff committee and them taking injuries into account. It's just what a devastating, devastating night for Florida State football, in a night in which they do go to 11-0.
Yeah, what else you saying? Obviously, we saw Maurice Smith get hurt. I don't think he came back, did he, Tom?
No, and he's been
Darius
battling
took all the
through.
snaps. I know he battled through it. I was even thinking going into this game, did he even need to play? This would be a good one for him to take off to rest up for that Florida game. You got to think whatever he's been battling, it looks like he re-aggravated it, which is not a good sign for him going forward. And obviously, the offensive line had its struggles tonight as well at times. But yeah, just you've made this journey. I mean, it's been such an unbelievable journey. I mean, from the lowest of lows to the Jacksonville State game to the boos. And again, I don't like all the stories and the hyperbole about him being booed off the field. I think that's been massively exaggerated. But still, the point is, he was there when this program hit rock bottom. And you and I were there, Tom, doing this show. And he's been part of that journey, and he's led the journey to almost the highest of highs of college football. And just to see him do it in the way he's done it, and the way he's done it with class, and just one of the most exciting players in the game. And just like there was a one chapter left for this journey, and the fact that he's not going to be able to finish the book.
Yeah.
That's the saddest thing to me, that for that young man, I have no doubt he's going to bounce back. He'll go on to have a fine pro career, but just the fact that he cannot finish this journey that he directed at the very end.
Yeah, it's by all accounts, he's a really good kid, and the thing that's tough, Gene, I got to cover Devin Travis, his brother, a lot closer. I was on the baseball beat when Devin was here as a player for all the time that Devin was here as a player. So I got to know him pretty well. You get to talk to somebody pretty much every day because Devin was doing awesome things. So he was interviewed after every game. Devin's an amazing person, and he's a very protective big brother. And he was when those moments were a little bit tough for Jordan early in his career. But by all accounts, Jordan is too. And it's just, you don't like to see bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
It's about the humanity of it first. We can get into the discussions about playoff and all that stuff later. It's just, my stomach hurts, my heart hurts for Jordan at this moment. And it was good to see that from that point on. It took a while for the team to center themselves. You could see it. I mean, there's a couple of plays where you could tell that their head is in another place. It's not right above Bobby Bowden Field, and you understand that. But when Florida State finally got things going, down 13-0 as they were, Gene, they put up a lot of points. They turned the ball over. They played with passion. They played with fire. And it seemed like the crowd, even though this is a night, if you were in that building, I'm sure you'll never forget this night, and you'll never want to see another one like it. The crowd found a way to rally around them, and it was a somber send-off for Doak Campbell and an era of that stadium. Gene, it's going to look a lot different next year.
Yeah, that's true. That's the last game in that stadium, the way we've all grown up with it.
It's just a somber send-off to go 11-0, and now Florida State begins Florida week. And I'd love to be on this program after an ass-kicking, Gene, talking about how we're going to go 12-0, and we can eventually get to that place, but not in this moment. Not in this moment.
Yeah.
It's just whatever word we do get from Florida State officially, whatever word we do get from Mike Norvell in the post-game press conference, we will bring you that information here on the Warchant Gameday Postgame Show, presented and brewed up by our friends at DeLuna Coffee. That information will be leaking in as the night goes along, and we are efforting, of course, to hear from either our managing editor, Ira Schofel, or our lead writer, senior writer, Corey Clark, after the game is over. But as for right now, we are left to speculate. And honestly, Gene, when it comes to the severity of the injury, there is no need to speculate or guess. It's serious. It's as serious as it gets when it comes to a lower leg injury. So
his career's over at Florida State. I mean, that's all we can do is hope it's not that's something that he can recover quickly from, and it doesn't affect his pro career going forward, and that he gets through it as quickly as possible. I mean, that's all we can hope and pray for at this point. So anyway, if you missed the final score, Florida State 15, North Alabama 58-13, 58 unanswered points.
Yeah.
I think the final, I saw at one point, I think it was like 450 yards to like 25 at one point since they went up 13-0. I mean, the flip of the switch was pretty dramatic there. But yeah, and we do want to take some phone calls. I've had some, we've seen some good posts of people. I want to get the fan reaction in this too, because maybe we can get somebody who's there. We'll hear from, like you said, Ira or Corey, but I want to get some of the fan reactions. What was it like in Doak Campbell Stadium? I mean, just your gut just being punched like that when this is supposed to be, it's senior night. It's a celebration of 2013 team, Jameis Winston's jersey being retired. This was supposed to be a night of celebration. It just totally put somebody peeing in your punch. I mean, that's just, it couldn't be any worse than that.
No, it is. And now what you're looking through now, to the next game against Florida, guaranteed Louisville will be your opponent in Charlotte.
We know that.
Louisville beat Miami. The Hurricanes collapsed at the end of the game.
And they went out in typical Miami style. If you saw the end of that game, it's pure Miami being chippy, taking shots at people's heads over and over again, just complete lack of class.
And now Tate Rodemaker is your quarterback. And now also it appears the message has been sent. It was Mike Norvell's choice about who was to come off the sideline next.
We saw that before, though, didn't we, Tom?
We did. After the injury, you just wonder. You miss a month of camp, a month and a half of camp and practices, I should say, to be more specific, practices. You wondered if it was going to be A.J. Duffy or Brock Glenn. So now, Brock Glenn, true freshman, you are one play away from being on the field as Florida State's quarterback. The conversation's changed. The conversation has fundamentally changed around Florida State football. The good news is we're 11-0. We're 11-0, and Jordan Travis has everything to do with that, except for the injury tonight. And now Tate Rodemaker has to finish the job. They got to do it for the number that's over my shoulder.
Yeah, and well, I saw your lovely wife Jamie putting that back there, and that was a nice touch. I probably need, what I probably need to do is if I would have had time, need to get a Travis jersey back here for the rest of the season. We definitely need to make that happen. Again, this is surreal. I can't even believe we're talking like this. It's just a couple hours ago. It was just nothing but excitement and anticipation and everything in one play. I mean, that's the nature of the game. Unfortunately, it's a violent sport, man. In one play, I mean, you saw it if you're, a Cincinnati Bengal fan. You saw it with, Joe Burrow. Suddenly, season's over. It happens. But yeah, if we can, I know we've got a lot of just very generous fans, which I'm amazed that we've got so many people making donations tonight. Thank you so much. And I want to maybe we take some time to hear from some other people instead of hearing us drone on and be sad. Let's share some other people. There's our friend Z-Chan.
Z-Chan, the official DMD of Warchant TV. Thank you very much. Your kindness always is just, gobsmacking.
Yeah.
The fans at Doak showed out. Tate Rodemaker played hard. So proud of this team and this fan base for tonight. My heart is broken for JT. Let's finish strong for him, 413. Thank you very much, Z-Chan. We will get, if you went to the game tonight, you'll see the phone number at the bottom of the screen. The lines are full at the moment. We'll get to you all in just a second, but we just want to hear what your emotions are. It was just a stunning thing. Nolebuck 83. For one of the best Noles to do it. Prayers, JT. Just so proud of him and what he means to us. Tate, just do you and believe in yourself. Nole Nation is behind you. Appreciate the contribution there, Nolebuck 83. Noel of the People. I was looking forward to seeing Jordan Travis play in Charlotte and wanted to follow his career in the NFL if he made the cut. My heart, my prayers go out to the young man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good sentiment there. Joshua, the first quarter was just a nightmare. FSU won 58-0. Prayers for Jordan, Maurice, and all the other injured players, including apparently Graham Mertz was taken back for x-rays as well for the Florida Gators. It's time for Tate the Great. FSU can still win out. Go Noles. Gene, another injury for Florida State that I saw reported. Renardo Green, arm in a sling. That's only Florida State's best cover corner, who'd had a rough couple of games.
Your center, your best cover quarter, and your Heisman candidate quarterback against an FCS weakling. Great.
We will we'll again document more of that as we go. Jared Thompson, don't get me wrong, I want to win the rest of the games, but as long as this team plays for and with Jordan's passion, however it goes, let's make number 13 proud.
Well, don't you kind of hope that, Tom, that this is, I mean, they rally around this, and I mean, Jordan's hopefully on the sideline down in Gainesville, and they just, he really gets these guys fired up, and he's just an inspirational leader for this team going forward.
I mean, it's happened before in a shorter stint for Tate on the road at Louisville last year where they were losing at the time. And it seemed all was lost because Tate threw a terrible interception in Louisville plus territory before the half. And you're thinking, oh, no, the season is just gone. And then Tate ends up leading Florida State to a win. And Jordan was cheering him on the whole way, Gene. Yeah. He was on crutches. He was in the baseball cap. And he was cheering Tate on the whole way. They're going to need Jordan in a big way next week.
Yep.
It just won't be under center or in the shotgun. Noel Kev, plenty of thoughts about the game. Doesn't feel like the time. Prayers for Jordan Travis. I want to thank him for all he's done for the program. Number 13. That's correct. Thank you, Noel Kev. We appreciate that. Clinton Terrell, devastated for 13. I thought my heart was going to explode. It just was so surreal, Gene. Because it's not one of those things where a player goes down. What happened to him? You're saying, is this okay? Did he just roll his ankle? Is it serious? Because sometimes when a player's down, you don't see the severity of it. With Jordan,
and it didn't seem, in real time I saw it. I didn't think that happened. And then when he's laying there and that leg was sticking out at a weird angle, it just, that's when the shock set in.
Oh, it was just awful, awful. We agree with you, Clinton. First name John, they have to ban that damn hip drop tackle. It's so dangerous. I saw that there were a lot of football lifers and insiders, Gene, on social media saying that that's no good. And it should be just like the horse collar that should be not part of the game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like you said, a good point about Mark Andrews. Similar play, the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. And there's been, like you said, there's been a lot of talk about that. And I wonder if that will be a talking point in the offseason officiating to bring that in. And they should, because you're dealing with people's careers and the livelihood. You can't. That kind of tackling shouldn't be happening. I don't know if I know there's a lot of people on our message boards. I don't know if it was a dirty play or just a poor tackling, just poor whatever.
I don't think
we can argue it again. I don't think it was dirty. It's not the right way you should tackle somebody. But again, we're dealing with an FCS defender.
Players desperate to get a superior athlete on the ground. I think that's what you're dealing with there. I don't think there's intent to injure. No way, no how. Zeno Johnny Zeno Bringardner. Heartbreaks for 13. He gave us everything for 3 years and more than that too, really.
Yeah.
Let's win this out for him. Thank you very much, Johnny. We appreciate that. Christy, go Noles. We have a bright future. Prayers to Jordan Travis. Yeah, you got to see a little bit of that even at the very, very end of the game when Brock Glenn and Sam Singleton are on the field. Singleton's going to be a nice player.
That running back, you keep thinking they just keep bringing out more and more guys that look good out there. Yep. And it was good for Brock because the first couple series I thought he was a little rusty, and I'm glad the game by the end he got his feet under him. You saw some of the reason why he's talented. And the other one, talk about him and Vendravius hooking up. I think that's something we're going to see a lot for years to come.
Oh, agreed. And to the 2,000 plus of you, welcome into the Warchant Gameday Postgame Call Show. We started a little bit early tonight. You should have a DVR function before you on the channel if you want to see the open and us discussing our initial thoughts and presenting our initial thoughts on what is just bittersweet, doesn't do it justice. This is a horrific, really sad night for Florida State and for its leader, quarterback Jordan Travis. We are documented along the way. Not going to ask you to do those things that we do promotionally speaking. Just thank you for being with us. We will provide you news as quickly as we possibly can to that end. And we are getting your reactions either via calls or via the chats. I don't know if we have any more chats left, but if we do, any comments from Director Ben, go ahead. We will go to the phone lines in just a moment. I see Ian McGregor chimed in, and he says, stop blaming Norvell for the injury. It is idiotic. Yeah, there's a lot of passion, Gene, about why are you calling a run play for Jordan in that situation. before I offer any thoughts, do you have some strong thoughts on the matter?
No, I don't have strong thoughts. It's just it just happens. I mean, it's they wanted a spark. A lot of times Jordan running kind of sparks the team. It's what he's been doing for years. And it was done. I mean, you can second guess anything, and I get it. You want to blame somebody. You can't. It's hard to just accept that this is it's a random part of violent game. The guys get hurt all the time, so you want to blame Norvell. You want to blame the guy for making a dirty tackle. You want to blame Jordan for not sliding. Whatever the thing is, but it's just shit happens. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
it happens. Yeah. It happened to the worst time to a great player at the worst possible time. It is what it is.
Yeah, if you want to be frustrated with something, we can put up Garrett's comment here, and you could be frustrated about maybe the fact that you're down 13-0. Is it fair to say this coaching staff looks ahead? Jacksonville State down at home tonight. There's no excuse to be down at home versus a team like that. I'll grant you 7. A trick punt, you get down there.
The trick punt was, I mean, nobody saw that coming from the 20-yard line or wherever that was at. That was ridiculous. Nobody, I don't know if I've ever seen a team. Have you seen a team pull a fake punt that deep in their own territory before?
I mean, you got to be. I've seen it in the NFL once or twice, but it's desperate situations.
Yeah.
You got to be alert to it. I'm not saying that you need to go up 65 yards, but if they pull a lot of rabbits out of their hat, we'll use the word hat. You can understand that, Gene, because they know they can't line up and play. They start with a swinging gate in this game, so it's tricks galore. I'll give you 7. Because even that throw on third down, Renardo, turn around. What is this, like 3-4 years ago? Defensive back play, turn around, find the ball. It's a low percentage completion in terms of if you were doing like Amazon Web Services on a Sunday, what are the chances that gets caught for a touchdown? Low. You're down 7-0. 13 is a little much now. Now they're still pulling tricks.
The second touchdown, you're right. That was.
And I think if you want to be frustrated, and everybody wants to place blame somewhere, but if you want to be frustrated about this situation, it's that I think you needed to give Jordan the option to run. The offense wasn't doing anything. They were lifeless. They were inconsistent. And I think a quarterback run was something they were trying to do to get the guys energized. Yeah, you should never have to do it against an FCS team, but you're down 13-0. And we're getting late in the first quarter at that time. So that's where I get frustrated is why the hell do you have to even consider that could have to be a play that you call? And after protecting him so much during the season, I mean, good Lord.
Well, that's the frustrating. I guess if there's anything to be frustrated about, there's so many of these tight games when they refuse to run him. And then against an FCS team, you run them out there and put them in harm's way. I guess that's, and I understand the frustration. I'm frustrated by it, but that's been the motif. I think if they were down 13-0 against another team, an ACC opponent, they're going to do the same thing. I mean, that's just kind of how this goes, because when they've done it in the past, we've seen it. Suddenly the defense plays better, the offense plays better. It opens up the running game. It opens up the passing game. That's this team's motif. That's how they work. And like you said, Tom, they should have never got to that point. But between coming up flat and, that team pulling off several trick plays basically on you and some low percentage plays that paid off for them.
Yeah.
You were in that position.
Florida Man in Texas says this is why you don't schedule FCS teams. I mean, it's an easy win, but yeah,
Florida State doesn't have a great record so far with FCS teams. They have not worked out well.
No, and the thing is, you look at the schedule and the way it lays out, and if you're going to play 2 rivals within 14 days, this is the exact game that you want in between. This is the one that you want. You want a layup, and it is a layup, even though you're down 13-0. You're going to win. You did with your backup quarterback. You win it going away.
You won by 45 points. Did you? I think I saw, was there a spread? I think there was a spread somewhere. It was hard to find. I think it was like 44 or something.
Yeah.
So they did with that last play. I guess they covered.
Oh, good Lord. If you have -44 and that's how you backdoor it, wow, that's something. But it's just one of those deals where the number one goal in a night like tonight is to get out of there healthy, and they didn't in the worst way. In the worst way possible. Thank you for
the last guy. Yep, you want to get.
We appreciate the contribution. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We go to Pete in Copper City, Florida. Pete, go ahead. Welcome to the program.
Hey, fellas. Good evening. Just wanted to say one comment, really, and that's how proud we are of our university. Jordan coming in here. Everything aside from football, what a great story it's been for us, restoring the legacy, getting us back to where we needed to be. I'm sure Bobby's looking down, just smiling with a big grin from ear to ear. Such a nice young man. They just represent us so well. And I'd say that for the whole team. They're really just great. It's a great representation of what we have now. And football aside, I hope, prayers go out to him and thank him for everything he's done, guys.
Well, we appreciate the call, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
And those are good sentiments. This is a team, some teams, Gene, are not the easiest to get behind, even though you're winning. 13 was easy. And they were here celebrated tonight.
Yeah.
And one of the most uplifting moments of the night was when Lawrence Toafili scores just before halftime, and he is straight mobbed by the 13
That was
champion.
awesome. And how much cooler would that have been if we had not had a Jordan Travis injury? That would have been a highlight, would have been played over and over on loop. It was fantastic. By the way, I guess I thought I saw 44 somewhere. Someone else said it was 48 or 40 or 48 or 48 and a half. So I guess FSU just barely did not cover the spread.
Well,
so sorry, I thought I saw 44 somewhere, but who knows? It was a little while. But no, Pete, thank you. Great call. Definitely prayers go out to Jordan and his family. And it's just, again, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, Marcus has a little bit of optimism in the face of all that we're feeling right now. We are going to win the national championship. If you notice how well we played after Jordan's injury, winning by numbers shows how we can band together. So
what a great story that would be.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tate Rodemaker story coming off the bench to lead FSU to a national championship. I mean, they would make movies and write books about that.
If Jordan's injury didn't make you misty-eyed, Tate finishing the job for Jordan would. Okay. I don't know that I'm ready to wrap my mind around that alternate reality, but look, I will say, Gene, just one thing specific to the passing game, and, Florida doesn't exactly play a lot of great defense either, so it's going to be tough to tell.
And Mertz is apparently broken collarbone if he's out.
Is that right? Oh, my God.
That's what some people are saying. I did not see it, but people in the chat have said broken collarbone for him. So not a good night for quarterbacks.
Attrition Central in Gainesville next week. I do think that you're going to see more downfield shots from Tate. I just think you're going to have maybe a couple of higher highs in the passing game, but maybe some lower lows too. That's going to be its own roller coaster ride here in the near term.
Yeah, we'll have a good breakdown this week of kind of like what this does, how it changes the passing game. He's obviously got the connection with Johnny. That's kind of his crutch. He's got to learn a little bit with Keon. He's a different animal, and you got to figure out. You can throw him. He did it in the one play when he threw across his body down the field. It was a little scary, but if he puts that in an area, if you a jump ball, it's no problem. Put that ball anywhere around Keon. You can do that with Keon. He's going to come down with a lot of those.
It's just so tough to assess Tate tonight too. He knew he was going to go in because of the opponent, so
Sure.
he's preparing to go in, but not in those circumstances. His brain.
Him and the teammates, the line, everybody else was all just in shock after that whole thing. So that was not the circumstance. It was a completely different scenario than what we thought it was going to be for him. And I've noticed too, and I'm curious to take your take on this, Tom. It seemed like a lot of times because he has a rifle, he's got a howitzer, and there are certain throws he makes. It seems like guys were a little surprised the ball got there that fast. I'm not so sure they're used to getting his fastballs because Jordan doesn't usually put that much vinegar on his passes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. There's a different level of velocity. Jordan sometimes can look like Plummer at Louisville, and Tate can look like Jake the Snake Plummer at times. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out against a real team next week. Tate does have some experience he can lean on. The thing I would say about Tate, though, at least this first real impression here, Gene, get rid of the ball quicker. Jordan had been doing that the last couple of weeks. There are a couple of times where Tate does not feel it, the pressure that's bearing down on him. That's going to have to change next week because, you turn the ball over in the swamp because you're holding on to it too long. That's how the night can get longer and more dreary when it comes to the scoreboard, not obviously some of the more serious undertones like a night like tonight. We now go to Largo, Florida, to the 727, and we are talking to Chris in Largo. Chris in Largo, go ahead.
Yes, I got a comment. I'm a first-time caller, lifelong Noles fan, and I watch a lot of college football. And I watched that juggernaut Georgia today, and I was looking at, man, our offensive line has to play better, man.
Mm-hmm.
Got to play better. Prayers go out to Jordan Travis. Good win tonight, but we got to play better against these good teams that we're going to face here coming up.
Yeah, no, agreed. We appreciate the call, Chris. That's, again, if you're going to be frustrated with the circumstances by which the nearly unthinkable happened tonight, it would be that you're off to a 13-0 deficit and you're out to one within a half a quarter. And now you're feeling desperate with an offense that looks stagnant. You know, Gene, they've gotten off to good starts earlier in the season. They've been up and down with that. I think more good than bad. The first month of the season wasn't, but since then they've kind of righted the ship. But tonight, not the case at all. They were flat to start the game, and then it goes from flat to just 6 feet under. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, Chris makes a good point. Here's one of the reasons I'm very dubious about Florida State's chances. And I think you guys on Jeff Cameron's show and some other of our shows made a good point where I think the equalizer, the line is not great. The line has been I just say it's not a bad offensive line, but I think it's an average offensive line.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was still optimistic about FSU being to get not only in the playoffs, but maybe do some damage in the playoffs is because Jordan's mobility is a great equalizer. You give him that month off to get healthy. He goes out there and runs. You see what Jaden Daniels can do to teams. Jordan's just as good when he gets out there in the open field and can do what he does. And I thought that would negate the shortcomings of the offensive line. Now with him out of the equation, if we're going to look ahead, I think Tate needs, he's a little slow to get rid of the ball, and you have an offensive line that's a little inconsistent and has some struggles and some guys banged up as well. That's not a good recipe when you start going against, like he said, the Georgias, the Michigans. So you have to start going up against those type of teams. That's extremely problematic.
Yeah.
And I know the big issue right now is to get through your next two games, which we thought Florida State had a pretty good chance of rolling through the next two. Now it's obviously a lot more dicey, giving your offensive line, giving who's at quarterback right now for Florida State. But I mean, were you to get by those two games, and were the committee not to screw you over and push you out, which we may get into that soon, Tom, that the dynamic has changed, how the committee looks at Florida State with its Heisman candidate no longer in the equation. It's the offensive line. That's a real issue. And that's, I guess, of all the things I've been disappointed in this season, I've been pretty happy across the board with everything. And I say the one thing I say did not live up to my expectations so far is the offensive line.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, too, in camp, sometimes you can see a mirage because you're going against your own teammates every day, and maybe familiarity allows for things to transpire that you didn't expect. Coming out of camp, going into the LSU game, I think it was objectively true that Florida State was better run blocking than they were in pass protection. And that couldn't be more the opposite of how it played out. They're far better in pass protection than they are.
Oh, look at the PFF stats. It's incredible. I mean, Florida State's got one of every week out, when I grade those things, is through the roof, the pass blocking. And it's the exact opposite in run blocking. I don't know if I've ever seen such a 180 with the two. They're doing the same thing. It's just a different type of blocking, and they're so bad in one and very outstanding in the other. Although, there were moments tonight, and there's moments in games when they break through and they get pressure, but every team does it. Patrick Mahomes gets pressured. Jalen Hurts gets pressured in the NFL. Even great offensive lines give up some pressures. It happens.
We now go to Jacksonville to talk to Ed in Jacksonville. Ed, welcome to the program. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. I was going to ask about the O-line, but someone else asked about that. So I'll ask about Tate. How do you feel like he sees the field compared to Jordan and his arm strength? And I know you mentioned that earlier. And do you really think that he can get past UF and Louisville? Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Ed. I thought that might have been my best friend Ed is from Jacksonville. I thought that might have been him calling him, but but thank you, Ed.
We have now confirmed there are two Eds in Jacksonville.
Yes.
At minimum, two Eds. Gene, do you want to take first crack at this? What do you think?
Sure. I mean, I think absolutely. I think Tate, we've seen it. I think he can play well enough to beat Florida and Louisville, especially Florida now, apparently maybe without Mertz. That obviously helps Florida. The nice thing about matching up with the Gators is as we know, they don't have a very good defense.
Yep.
I mean, it's a liability. It's not just an average defense. It's a bad defense. So that will help him. I would be like, if he was going at Clemson or something, I would be petrified. I think that would be a bad situation, or even at Miami, where they've got this dominant defensive front that's going to get in his face a lot. I think this is a good matchup for him. And I was not overly impressed with Louisville today. And I will say one thing that I've noticed when I watch it, you see more practice than me, you can answer this. The thing I do like about Tate, because he's been in the system so long, he does seem to make his progressions pretty fast. And he's got, as we've seen, and I talked about, he's got a really strong arm to get the ball there. Yep. But he needs the protection. I think unlike Jordan, he's not going to buy more time. He can run a little bit, but obviously it's a whole different level with Jordan. But he needs to get rid of that football. And that's the one thing you worry about, as you pointed out. One play where he holds on the ball too long and gets hit and fumbles the football or whatever, that could be the difference in the game. So that, I think, is my biggest concern with
Yeah.
Tate going down to Gainesville and playing against Louisville.
So we have access to Beyond Pro Football Focus Sports Info Solutions as well, and they have something called boom percentage and bust percentage. And boom plays are essentially those. It's an advanced analytics term for EPA and how a play can affect your expected points by one or more. It's just like it's a big play. So instead of looking at like 20 yards for explosiveness, they're trying to use it with analytical tools. At any rate, boom and bust are great terms that we typically use with the NFL and draft picks, that kind of a thing. But I think Tate, in the course of a game, throw for throw, has a higher boom rate, and I think he's got a higher bust rate. I think you're going to get a little bit of both with Tate. I think at times he sees the field better than Jordan does about what's open, and he'll get the ball to what's open rather than forcing a matchup more than Jordan does. But the problem is his bust rate and the negative plays are going to be at a higher clip as well. You're just trying to outpace it on the boom side of the equation, Gene, because, Jordan, throughout this season, 2 interceptions. He doesn't turn the ball over. And Tate is apt to do that. But then Tate can also put your jaw on the floor. It's not uncommon, Gene, when you go to practice here at Florida State the last few years, that Tate Rodemaker delivers the best throw of the day across all quarterbacks.
I like that when he had Vendravius, that throw up the middle. I don't think Jordan makes that throw.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a beautiful, because he's got the arm strength. He saw him break open there, and he made that a great throw there. So you're right. You're going to get some of those, but that's what you hope. He doesn't have a couple really bad ones down in Gainesville that cost you the game.
Let me get you really excited about that throw. It was actually Brock. That was Brock.
That's right. That was Brock.
Yep.
The future is bright. I got to wear shades.
That's correct. You just don't want to see him next week. Brock now has to prepare one play away from coming in the game. I don't think he's ready.
Well, let's not go. We're ready for the competition in the spring between Brock and Tate.
Correct.
Let's do that. We don't need to have another injury to Tate. Tate needs to be the guy here the next few games.
Yep. We now go to the 912. Where is 912, you ask? Well, it's Wyoming. And we now are joined by 100 Proof Football.
All right.
Proof Football from Wyoming. Go ahead. Bless us with your take, 100 Proof. How are you?
I don't know about blessing you guys, but the 912 is actually Savannah, Georgia, which is where I'm from. And it's hilarious because I just got off a plane. I literally called you guys from the aisle of the plane. I've been waiting to get through to you guys, and now I'm back home down south in Georgia. So Wyoming is the 307, but I will always be the 912. Look, I want to be realist, and then I want to be optimist. And for the realist part, look, Norvell blinked tonight. Norvell got down 13-0. He worked all week talking about we're not going to take this team for granted. And then all the media, not blaming anybody, especially my favorite site that I'm been a subscriber of for 15 years, Warchant, not blaming anybody, but nobody even blinked even to analyze this game. And so it's hard for a coach to sell a game like that to his team. And so he came down out with all the trick plays, everything they had out their hat, 13-0. And then he had to run the quarterback just to create a spark. Man, you just won the game 60-something points after that. You went on a 60-0 run. What is going on? There in no circumstance did you need to run your quarterback like that. This is a high school team, a 3-win FCS team. If you came out and imposed your will on this team, how you going to beat Florida in the Swamp? How you going to win the conference championship? How you expect to even be in the playoffs when everybody else says you shouldn't go because a one-loss SEC team should go over you? If you can't go impose your will in this game, you don't blink. And he blinked, and he was looking for a spark when you didn't need a spark. You're the better team. You go impose your will over 60 minutes, a 60-minute football game, not a first-quarter football game. So I really think I love Norvell. He's 10 years younger than the average coach. He's got 10 years less wisdom. He gained some tonight, and he wore it on his face on the sideline all night long, and I hated to see it. And it broke everybody's heart, man. And I'm not going to blame it all on Norvell because the defense didn't step up.
Nobody took the game as serious as they should have from the get. They got serious once their quarterback got hurt, but it was hard to watch. Now, I've listened to you guys for years talk about how great Tate is in practice. He might be the better passer. Look, there's some optimism. We can be optimistic with Tate going forward, throwing the ball. But look, man, the offensive line couldn't even block tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can't have time to set and read, Jordan Travis, he was getting famous for that, throwing off his back foot as he was fading away, completing passes because he didn't have time. Now we're in trouble with Tate. And the one good thing going about it is people don't have a lot of film on Tate. That's great. And everybody around him got to step their game up. In a weird way, maybe the team galvanizes. Maybe Jordan Travis was a crutch. Maybe they knew no matter what happened, we got Jordan Travis, can bail us out to fall back on. Now everybody else, the other 21 guys on that team, got to stand up and build up and hold up Tate until we figure out what's going on with Jordan Travis. But the last thing I'll say is, we watched it. Anybody that watched pro football Thursday night, the hip drop tackle, man, it's got to go.
Yep.
Hip drop tackle is killing people, killing careers. It's the same thing as the horse collar. Why do they stop the horse collar? Because it's bending people over backwards like that. The hip drop's doing the same thing on these people's legs. The hip drop tackle's got to go. So thank you guys for letting me call in. You know I love you guys. Subscribe to Warchant, baby. And we're 11-0. Let's stay positive. Tate can win in the swamp. I'm getting flashbacks to Marcus Outson's ass. All right? But maybe if we get to the playoffs, maybe we got a better team around them and better pieces. I'm looking at you, O-line, to make some things happen. Love you guys. Want to hear you guys respond. Thank y'all.
Thank you. As always, 100 Proof Football from the airport tonight. You could hear the message from the airport PA. Wanted to drop in and give his thoughts. And Gene, I mean, he makes a great
I love 100 Proof, one of my favorite callers. And, it is worth, I know we talked earlier about the blame game goes around, and that's a motif. But, it makes a good point about Norvell. We talked about before about reading the room, about sometimes I think he lets his emotions get the best of him and not looking at the bigger picture. You knew Florida State was going to come storming back and score a ton of points and win this game easily, whether he ran on that play or not. And I think it's the motif of, Florida State's struggling, they're sluggish, let's run the quarterback, because that always sparks them. But yet maybe, he makes a good point. Read the room. You're playing a down and out FCS team. Maybe you don't need to do that in this instance. Heck, maybe it takes a little bit longer to get this team going. I know he made the point about the OL, and I think they're going to need to step up. If this team is going to go on and win an ACC championship and maybe make a run in the playoffs, that line needs to play better, because Jordan was a crutch for them. He can bail them out. He could run for a play. He could extend drives. He can do a lot of things that Tate is not going to be able to do. Tate's got some talent of his own, true, but he needs the protection. So those guys are going to have to step up, and they're going to have to be better in run blocking.
Yep.
Because you can't be one-dimensional with Tate Rodemaker. He needs a complete offense to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. And just for my own part of it, I mean, everybody has their own opinion. We've got enough different opinions at Warchant. Tate can have the best throw in practice, and Tate sometimes, I think, sees the field better. But the consistency, I don't want to get it twisted here. Like, there's a more consistent quarterback that was waiting in the wings for Florida State. So, I know that's not exactly what 100 Proof is saying. I just want to clarify here. The better quarterback is the guy who's hurt.
Oh, 100%.
Don't get it twisted. But the person who's capable in a moment of a better throw, and maybe sometimes not, consistency part remains to be seen. He's only played a half a game that meant something as Tate Rodemaker, and that was last year on the road at Louisville, like against a Power 5 opponent for real, down. There are times I think he sees it better, but consistency, we need more data, and we're about to get a crap ton more data on Tate Rodemaker. You talk about Gene, you're sad for your teammate, and one of, I think, the most somber shots tonight on the TV broadcast was when you saw the quarterback area of the bench, and there were 4 chairs, and there were 3 dudes sitting, and there was a chair open, and it was Jordan's, and you're just like, oh man. It's not quite the level of Tiny Tim and his stool being empty, because he's going to live a long life here, but it's just from a football standpoint, you feel that. But after you process that, when you're Tate, Gene, this opportunity that's before you, you don't love the circumstances, you hate the circumstances, but this opportunity, we were talking about how spring ball was going to be Tate's chance. It's right before you now.
Yeah, it is.
It waits for you in the swamp. Your destiny as a Florida State quarterback waits for you in the swamp and in Charlotte.
Yeah, and he can live in infamy. I mean, let's just put the playoffs aside for a minute. I mean, just going down and being a backup and going to Gainesville and beating the Gators, that of itself, you beat one of your hated rivals in state, you get FSU to an undefeated regular season. You do that, they're going to remember you. It's just like, it's Tin Cup, man. You make that, it's not going to matter. You don't win the whole thing. You make this, you get it on the green in this circumstance in the Masters, they're going to remember you. This is his shining moment. Even if he doesn't win the job next year, and then if he does that, winning it's a championship, winning the ACC championship. If he's able to go on and do that, whatever happens in Gainesville, that is memorable. That is going to leave a mark. You're going to have a legacy there. Playoffs are a bonus at this point. I mean, let's face it. Beat the Gators, win an ACC championship. At this point, with Jordan gone, I mean, that's a tremendous accomplishment for this team to go, if they end up going 13-0, and if the committee doesn't screw them and they get in the playoffs. To me, that's just bonus. If you do something there, great. But at this point, without Jordan, I'm not really expecting much there. But your goals of being undefeated regular season, beating your rivals, winning an ACC championship, those are right in front of you, Tate Rodemaker.
And they're all doable. And so, to what comes after that, let's go to a Warchant member of 20 plus years. My goodness. This is Chris in Missouri. Chris, first of all, thank you for your support.
Yeah.
You've been supporting this website since I was 15 years old, so I appreciate that. Welcome to the program.
You're making me feel old again, Tom.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys, man. Yeah, so it's crazy, the metamorphosis as you go through life. Gene, it sounds silly, man, but, over the years, what you've done with Warchant and just finally tuned your craft and created a market share, man. I remember going through college and losing my mom and just having the outlet of going to Warchant in 03 or 02 is when I started. And then you become a dad and you have kids, and I lost my dad, and just being able to have that outlet, man. What you created is really, it's what fans and what fanatics become, right? I greatly appreciate what you've done. I was Drury on there. I think that's my picture now, but yeah, I think I started right after I finished my grad assistantship at Florida State. So anyhow, thank you for everything you've done, Gene. You've done an awesome job.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for taking the ride with us.
At the 13 national championship, I put 22-1 odds, $100 down in Vegas. I was out there visiting some friends at a conference in August. And when I finished and left that game and drove home and went to the Aria and picked up my ticket, I felt pretty fulfilled. And I said, hey, if every 5 or 8 years, I don't need it every year. I don't need to be a Bama fan, but if we could just feel this feeling every 5 to 8 years. It's been 10 years, man. And, I didn't think, and I want to hear what you guys think. I felt like this year was kind of Mike hedging his bets and using the roster and the transfers and the retention to build up enough that, hey, if we make the playoff, it's great, but to build up enough reputation to get the recruits to start making that transition. And losing Jordan, I'm not blaming Mike, but I felt eerie feelings of Jacksonville State the first quarter. I felt like you're not desperately running Jordan if you're ahead and taking care of business. And I'm not blaming Mike. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's, maturing as it happens. But can we make the playoff, get Darrell Jackson back, get healthy, and just make the playoff with what we have right now? What do you guys think? I'll hang up and listen. I mean, if we can do that and get a top 3 or 4 class, we can totally flip this thing. But I want to hear what you guys think. Tom, I love what you guys do. I love the JCS. Gene, thanks for everything. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Chris. That's wonderful support across the board. We appreciate your support and for taking the time to call us, giving of your time on top of all the fact that you're a subscriber for 20 plus years. It's pretty cool. To me, Gene, yeah, you could still make the playoffs. You could go 13-0 first of all. That's the only way you're getting there. It was before Jordan got hurt. The only way you're getting there is if you win out and you win all your games, and that's still quite possible for Florida State. They can do that. The problem is, will the committee allow you to make the playoffs? And, late last week, Gene, I guess we could call it this week technically, you put a video out on the channel talking about 2014, looking back in that situation where Florida State was undefeated and for portions of the season, 3 teams were in front of Florida State
Yeah.
with a loss.
Literally, literally the end of the regular season, 3 one-loss teams are ahead of Florida State. The committee ranked it that way.
So the committee has done that before, and it has happened to Florida State. In this instance, with an injury, and they do take injuries into account as the way they do in college basketball. Same thing with the college football playoff selection committee in football. This style points are now of the utmost importance next week and in Charlotte. If you can win those 2 games and Tate engineers a lethal offense, I probably shouldn't use that word given our previous head coach, but if he can like an offense that runs up the numbers into the 30s or the 40s in both games, I think you make a case at that point without getting too much help from the other conferences and teams dropping along the way. But Gene, I'd be fascinated by your thoughts because you love to talk about the big picture. You've been on pretty much all of our reaction shows for the playoff so far. So what is your take on would the committee still have the door opened to a 13-0 Florida State with Tate Rodemaker as a starting quarterback?
Well, a lot of stuff has to. Well, first of all, Chris, thank you so much for your support over the years and talking about being with Warchant all this time through all these massive events in your life. I mean, that warms my heart when I hear stuff like that. So thank you so much for your support and taking the ride with us. But, going back to the playoff thing, Tom, a lot of it's like I kept saying over and over, a lot of weird stuff has to happen. Right now, it looks like Washington's about to run out the clock and get a 2-point win against. So one of the nightmare scenarios is happening. I thought Washington might lose to Oregon State, and it looks like they're about to pull that one off. The good news is at least Louisville won. So if they can beat Kentucky, at least you'll be against a top 9 or 8 team. I think that's going to look good on the resume to do that. But yeah, so the fear, of course, is, again, the committee, they're humans. They have biases. We know they have an SEC bias. Everybody seems to, especially ESPN. Let's face it, they're tied in with a committee. It's an incestuous relationship with ESPN, and they love the SEC. So the fear is Alabama goes and wins a close game against Georgia, and they're going to think those are the 2 best teams on paper because they're Georgia and Alabama. In the fear of Washington, Washington is passing. They've won this game. Washington is passing Florida State. I can already say it now. They're going to be number 5. I'm warning people now. Be prepared on Tuesday when that committee comes out. Washington is going to jump Florida State to number 4. They will drop to number 5. Now they still have to play Oregon, and we're going to assume as bad as Auburn losing to New Mexico State today. So I'm assuming Alabama's going to house them and be in the SEC championship. So the fear is, and it's playing out the way I said it might, is that Alabama, if they're able to beat Georgia, then the committee's got a difficult decision to make. And if Washington beats Oregon for the Pac-12 championship, then they've got a real problem. Do they dock Florida State? Because as you said, Tom, and you sent me a couple examples, it's happened in the past where the committee has come out and said they do take injuries into account. When you have a Heisman Trophy candidate and the best player in the team who's out, this is not the same Florida State team that beat LSU, that went and beat at Clemson, which, by the way, that's one thing I should have brought up in the video. Nobody beats Clemson in Clemson. North Carolina with Drake May, who could be one of the top things I saw. He's the number 1 quarterback now. One of the early things I've seen. Notre Dame, who basically owned Ohio State except for the final 4th down play, they couldn't beat Clemson and Clemson. Florida State could, but for some reason that's not even brought up in any of these discussions. So, but my point is the quarterback that led you to those wins, and the one thing Florida State was kind of hanging its hat on, is now not in the equation. They're not, and I can tell you, they're not going to look in the fact that Darrell Jackson will be back. They're not going to dig that deep to say, well, you've got an elite defensive tackle who's disruptive, who's going to be back potentially for the playoffs. So that's my fear, is that it could play out this way. So don't be surprised if Florida State does happen to beat Florida in Louisville, especially if they don't do so with style points, as you pointed out, Tom. That they end up being on the outside looking in. And I pointed out over and over in that video, it's extremely unlikely. But now with Jordan out, I think if that plays out perfectly, I think it's a realistic possibility at this point.
You need Louisville to win next week because that's going to help you in the style.
That's going to help a lot, because you're going to say they're going to beat a top 8 team, let's say, for a conference championship and be undefeated, and you're still going to kick them out.
Yeah, it's to me there are 2 questions here. Can Florida State go 13-0? To that, yes, full stop, absolutely.
But versus maybe 80-90% sure. Maybe I'm about 60%. I mean, 50, 60%. I mean, it's the percentage has gone way down.
Oh, we'll take a look at what Vegas thinks. Gene, now Mertz got hurt, so you probably aren't
It's not a wash though. Jordan's a lot more important to Florida State than Mertz is for Florida.
No, just what I'm saying is that they might turn the line off for that game, but the future was at 11. It was Florida State favored by 11 points.
That's what I saw. I thought I saw an early line. It was 11, right?
And if Mertz was healthy, you'd get a better idea of what Vegas thinks.
So what is it going to be like 3 or 4 now, probably?
But now with Mertz injury, so there's a double impact to the line, so you don't get a good idea. It's probably 5 to 6 points in Vegas. I would think that Jordan was worth that. I mean, Florida State would still be favored, but maybe on the other side of a touchdown, 6, something like that. At any rate, that's for a reason. Florida State is not as good of a football team without Jordan Travis. That's just true.
We're not. Take any elite quarterback. Take anybody off of an elite team. Take Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix or any of these guys off their team. And it looks like Florida might be on the verge of pulling off a crazy upset here. It looks like they are up by 1 point, and Missouri's in desperation time here. So somehow they were able to go there and pull this off without. And I know they were behind pretty good with when Mertz went out. So Missouri they've kind of risen up and they just stopped it. So that's it. Gators are going to win this.
Wow. So they are going to be bowl eligible. Son of a. Okay.
It would have been nice to keep them from going to a bowl. Although, I like when they go to a bowl and they have to kick field goal to prevent a shutout at the end of the game.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe they can do that 2 years in a row. Got to get through them. The odds are, I think in Florida State's favor to go 13-0. They're mitigated, but then that's only one half of the equation. The other half is what does the committee do with Florida State? So we'll see, and we'll keep you posted here on Warchant TV every step of the way. On a somber night to be a Nole fan. There's no two ways about it. We now go to Long Island. We talked to Pat in Long Island. Talked to him last week after the win over Miami. Pat, go ahead.
Might want to mute your TV, Pat.
All right, I'll mute my TV. Give me 1 second. All right, muting it right now. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Pat.
All right, so give me 1 second. Gotta get that all the way down. All right, so I've been seeing a lot of chatter online saying it's over. Like, it's over. It's over. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no. It ain't over now. 'Cause when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I'm saying if we get to the playoff, and all we got to beat is this Florida team that is coming off a victory against Mizzou. Good for you, Florida. You got bowl eligible. Congratulations. You did it. Oh, wait.
I spoke too soon about Missouri. They just converted a 4th and long.
Spoke too soon about that. All right. So we have this Florida team that also lost their quarterback, which I hope he gets better and I hope he can play against us because I want to kick his butt too. All right. We got to play a Louisville team that went to overtime with Virginia and barely beat Virginia, which is the best 3-8 team of all time. But we will give them that. But here's the thing. Have you all ever heard of this man called Cardale Jones?
Oh, man.
Cardale Jones. Cardale Jones in 2014 playoffs.
Yep.
2015 national champion. Cardale Jones won with Ohio State as the third string quarterback. Why not us?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to ask the fan base right now. Why not us? Right now, yes, we're down in the dumps. Yes, J. Trav was the truth. I love J. Trav to death, and he was amazing. He made so many plays for us over these past few years. I was at his debut at Boston College when Odell Higgins was the head coach, and we won that football game. I love J. Trav to my dying day. I want to put him in the ring of circle. But here's the thing. This is not the J. Trav team. This is Florida State. We have a dadgum great football team. And you know what? I believe that this defense is going to step up, much like the Jets step up against the Bills in week 1, against every team they play this year, because they got Zach Wilson at quarterback. And they say, oh, we got to play today. We got to play. We got to play every single snap because we don't know how many points we're going to score. And I'm not saying Tate Rodemaker is that. I think Tate Rodemaker is way better than Zach Wilson is in the NFL. I love me some Tate. I think he's a damn good quarterback that throws the ball on a rope. He throws the ball almost too hard. It's bouncing off of Jaheim Bell's face mask on 4th and down. So I'm saying, if we could just navigate these next 2 weeks, why not us? Why not us? Listen, we have zero expectations. We just want to beat the Gators. We want to win the ACC. That was the goal from day one, from JCS and from Warchant. Everybody was saying, "Hey, let's just win the ACC and maybe get into the playoffs." We're there. Why not us? And once we get there, you're playing with house money. Nothing is more dangerous than a team that's playing with house money.
That is correct.
We got nothing to lose.
That is correct. Thank you, Pat. We appreciate the call. And during that call, Missouri marched all the way down the field.
Yes, they did.
We got to cut you off there, Pat. And from the Animal House reference, we really appreciated that.
I love it. And I think we need to have Pat, if they make the playoffs, we need to get Pat in the locker room to give the pregame speech. Get him fired up.
He also started a debate I never knew that I'd have in my head, which is Tate better than Zach Wilson right here, right now? Maybe. I don't know. He could be. Zach was a great player at BYU, but I think Tate might be better if they threw him in with the Jets this weekend. But Mizzou on a 4th and 17.
How about that? Converted the 4th and 7. I thought that was a 4th down play when it's incomplete. I don't know if there was a penalty or what happened there, but yeah, suddenly they're back in the game. They converted the 4th and 17, a typical Gator way to choke it at the end when the game was over.
They got kickoff and one more play to survive here, does Mizzou. They've been kicking field goals all night. That's 4 of them now for Missouri. All kinds of crazy crap was happening during that call, Gene. So today at Hotel Indigo, the final broadcast of the year was fantastic. We appreciate everybody who showed up all season long. What a great atmosphere it was, to celebrate the team before we saw what happened in the first quarter. Everybody was in wonderful spirits, and the weather really turned nice as the sun set. But as the sun was setting, my God, Gene, it was very bright out there, and I was getting some sunblock in my eye. I mean, that is the most stinging pain in the world, as Pat was talking. So Mizzou's going down the field. Sunblock is touching my eye, and it all is well that ends well. It was a good call. Thank you, Pat. Mizzou now up 33-31. They're going to have to do some sort of, trick play down the field. With
how nice. And this is what's awesome about this too, is why we all revel when the Gators lose, which is awesome, especially when they kind of choke away a lead, what looked like they were going to win. But also the fact that recruiting class is just falling apart, and this just, you keep building loss after loss after loss. More of those 4 and 5 stars just start stripping away, and puts Napier in a bad position. That schedule, I don't know if anybody's looked ahead to their 2024 schedule. It's a gauntlet. It is hard, unbelievable, Tom. I don't know if Ben could pull that thing up at some point. Nobody's going to want to take that job, so they can't fire Napier. So they're going to be stuck.
Oh man!
And he's got to get through another year. I know they have Texas on the schedule, and I think maybe Alabama gets back in there. I mean, it's brutal.
So they had a hook and ladder coming, Gene, and the kid didn't even catch it on the hook and ladder. And interestingly enough, that's their schedule for next year. But real quick, I recall a Florida-Tennessee game from about 8 years ago, maybe. I think it was in the Swamp.
Maybe UCF will beat them. They're looking pretty good lately.
Florida hit on like a 4th and 30 or some friggin' nonsense play on Tennessee to rip their hearts out, as they seemingly did every single year. Missouri remains a one-loss team, probably still in the top 10. I would think so after getting this win, with a 4th and 17 conversion. They kicked
Wow.
4 field goals tonight. They came up empty in the red zone a bunch tonight, and the choke was completed as Missouri wins 33-31. Florida will be playing, in fact, for bowl eligibility or a 5-7 campaign if they lose next week.
Yes.
That's what's before Florida State. Wow. That schedule was pretty ridiculous, Gene. They did play nearly everybody because it's not like Texas is getting worse in recruiting rankings. They'll probably be
How
taking
bad it's
on.
going to be? Everybody's going to know who's in the hot seat. If they finish 5-7 and the class falls apart, it's like, you're going to have best case. Maybe they're 6-6 next year, whatever the case is. So, I mean, he's done. I mean, everybody knows he's going to be fired with that schedule. So, yeah, Miami, who, that's obviously not easy. UCF is not an easy one. Georgia, Florida State, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas.
This is
Sorry, Gators.
Wow. Times get tougher and tougher for
That's
Florida.
a shame, isn't it?
It is. It is. A couple more people to thank, actually many more here. I'll start with the wealth influencer. We may have hit this if we didn't. I'm glad that we're doing it again at the worst case. But number 13, one of the greatest, definitely wasn't expecting this. Heart goes out to JT Money. Thank you, wealth influencer. That's what tonight is mostly about. We're finding ways to chuckle. Miami and Florida have provided that for us. Jordan Travis himself said he hates Miami, so I'm sure he smiled before he took the field tonight that they choked away a late game situation, did the Hurricanes, and so did Florida. So there you go. 38-31 was Louisville's winning score. 33-31 is Missouri's winning score. But tonight, thank you, wealth influencer, is about saying, get well, Jordan, and let's do this now. Gene, if Florida State does win the ACC championship and they're undefeated, how many wins would they have on the season?
Yeah, that would be the magic 13.
They
Same
would
as our but I hope they don't end on 13.
No, of course. But if they can hoist the trophy in 2 weeks' time in Charlotte.
I think right now we'll take that. I mean, like I said, as our last caller pointed out, being in the play, if you get to the playoffs at 13-0, you're playing with house money. He 100% correct. At this point, you take the undefeated regular season, you take the ACC championship, you take the state championship. And as pointed out by several people, this is building. This was a Mike Norvell to build, to prove a proof of concept. A lot of the times you go in recruiting the other stuff, they go, well, they like the guy, he seems to be doing the right thing, but we got to, they're recruiting against him. Like, oh, they're not going to win. They're not a winning team. He's not got things in the right direction. Well, 10-win team and potentially a 13-win undefeated. All those arguments by rival teams recruiting against Mike Norvell are completely out the window. And he can build up not only with a transfer portal, but now build up through recruiting class. And we're seeing that right now. I think they're ranked number 3 right now in the combined on 3 rankings. And, I know Michael Langston threw out the other day that it is not inconceivable of a couple of these 5 stars that they're really trending for flip. That number 1 class is not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, the 113 that we don't like is it's 1,300, I think, Battle's End members at present. That's got to go up. That's got to go up.
We're working on that.
There could be good news coming this next week for Florida State, like epic news. So that's where you want to support. And thank you, Gordon, for supporting us. He's referring to what Pat Long Island was talking about. Didn't Ohio State make the playoffs in 14 because their starting quarterback went down and still won the Big Ten with 1 loss? They gave credit to the team, not one player. And yes, it was the primary, the starter, in other words, the backup, and the third stringer was the one that put Ohio State over the top. Nobody gave Ohio State a chance, Gene, when that playoff began. They were the that final team in. Who was it that had the gripe? Was it TCU maybe? I forget. Somebody did, and then Ohio State goes in and just
was that was that back when they had Zeke Elliott? Was that the one that had? Was he on that team?
It could have been. You're talking Ohio State? Yeah,
Ohio State.
So. Yep. Thank you very much, Gordon, for the contribution. Lowell, hashtag for 13. Thank you, Lowell.
Thank you, Lowell.
Really appreciate that. And Ryan says, in Norvell, we trust. Play for Travis. Play for Travis.
That's got to be the theme.
Yeah, that's what Florida State's going to be doing the next couple of weeks. Jordan will make that trip. He'll be there, and he'll be rooting Florida State on very, very hard because we know that he bleeds garnet and gold, and we're sick to our stomach for him that this is how it ends for Jordan. But you know what, Gene, in his final season as Florida State starting quarterback, his job is now done, it would appear. He didn't lose a game. Didn't lose one.
How about that? Wow. Talk about his legacy right there, but they need to finish the legacy for him.
Yep.
And bring home that state championship and that ACC championship and let him hold up that trophy. I want to see him sitting in Charlotte holding up that trophy. There'd be nothing better to honor him and what he's done for this program, what he's done for his teammates if they finish the job. And that needs to be it right there.
We go to the Warchant Ohana in Hawaii. We're talking to Spartan Knoll. Ralph in Hawaii. Welcome to the program, Ralph.
Aloha, everyone. How's it?
Aloha, Ralph.
Aloha.
Okay, so I'm going to try to just ramble for a second and give it to you because I'm going to try to tie some points together that lead to my ultimate question. But before I do that, I really love the Cardell Jones bringing it up third string. I've been saying for 6 months that Brock Glenn is our future, and it sounds like he's going to take us to the promised land. So thank you, everybody, for believing in Brock like I do. Having said that, we have as pointed out earlier, we have a head coach that's learning on the go. Sometimes he tries to outsmart himself. We have an O-line that's either banged up, not playing well together, or incompetent. Well, let everybody decide for themselves what it is. And we have a quarterback that has all the potential in the world, a strong arm, but absolutely folds like a lawn chair when things go bad. So now thinking about the entire season, 4 games remaining, we only really have 2 games in the short term before Coach Norvell can take a break and pause. So I would like to know what offensive coordinator Tom Lang or Gene would do with a 2-game stretch, knowing all those things I just pointed out, knowing that your quarterback can either take you to promised land or he can do a deer in the headlight and fold like he did a couple times in previous past. And then my second question would be in that same vein, how much time this week do you give Brock as opposed to a traditional QB1 to QB2 week-long practice? How much time do you give Brock knowing that he's going to need as much time or more time to get prepared than Tate would have if Tate was to go down or you lose confidence and have to pull him? So how do you balance all of that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
Well, Gene, to start, with Brock, he's just I think you're just gonna slide the guys up. I don't know that you're gonna.
Yeah, you do what you normally do. I don't think you want to change your process at all with those guys. You've got.
Go ahead.
I mean, the good news is Tate's had so many reps with the offense. He knows the offense, and I think just taking those reps with the first team and prepping that you're going to go down to Gainesville and looking at the film and doing all that like Jordan would normally do, I think is fine. Tate will obviously move up. Glenn will obviously move up and get more reps and have to prepare as if he's going for number 2. But I don't think it's time to shake things up and give Glenn a bunch of reps with the ones to try to get them ready just in case. I think you got to keep. I mean, the thing this team now is stability. You need to go in their minds that look, we've lost Jordan, but we need to keep going on. We've got a guy we're lucky. We've got a very competent backup who's very talented, and we're still, all our goals are still in reach. Just go through. So I think shaking things up too crazy would be a bad move.
Yeah, I think this is not like one thing I'd say, Ralph, is the practice structure of Florida State is not like the NFL where like the starters get all the reps. And then, there's just like this other period of time that's very small for the backups or the second team offense. And because of that, Brock's going to get a ton of reps this week. Like he'll get plenty. He doesn't have to be given more because there's a speeding up process. The thing that's tough for Brock is being out for so long with that hand injury. He didn't have that time to refine his game. I mean, if Tate goes down, you're in a real disaster mode here. Where Brock has the chops, but that's a lot to ask if he has to go in for a series or more against Florida and Gainesville, like at night. Geez, that's a doomsday scenario. And you can't run the ball. Oh my goodness. That's potentially a big problem. I'm not saying he's not up to it. It's just, that's an awful lot to ask, too much to ask of a true freshman. But Tate's got to get in with the ones. He's got to get more time with the ones. And so he's going to get a ton of it. And, for all intents and purposes, it's now his job to lose through the end of next year. It is now Tate Rodemaker's job to lose through the end of next season.
And I hope we go to the springtime where like it's not a competition because Tate has done so well these next couple of games. You beat Florida down in Gainesville, you win the ACC championship, you acquaint yourself well in the playoffs. Hopefully they're there. That's going to go a long way to solidifying his position going forward. And Ralph also brought up, if we're an OC, look, it's cliche, but to me, it's like when you're down in Gainesville, give him some easy reads, some easy stuff to start out, get his confidence up, because we've seen he can have these moments where he can make mistakes and press and throw balls you shouldn't throw. But I'm going to make things as simple and easy as possible. Got to keep him ahead of the sticks. Don't put him in 3rd and 13 situation. If you're in a 3rd and 13 early in the game, do a draw play, do a screen, do something simple. Do not make him sit back there in that hostile environment and try to make reads and make a throw.
Yeah, the best friend of a quarterback when you can't run the ball, it's tough, but it's throwing on first down. It's throwing on first down. That's the best thing you can do for a quarterback in that situation. So, Ralph, I'd say quick game. Also, he's folded a lot, but he didn't. He folded, then he unfolded himself against Louisville.
Yes, he did.
Last year. And the things that they ran I remember this because we did a big breakdown with Dominic Robinson after it was over. But they ran basic RPOs. I mean, some of it was very basic. It's just you read the linebackers. If they're coming downhill, you throw to Johnny over the top. Remember, that's some basic slants. I'm not talking about the big shots down the field. One of the touchdowns was that play. His first feel-good play in the second half, the third quarter of that game, was a basic RPO, and it's a quick slant to Johnny. And then when they took the shots, there was a lot of protection, max protection, 6-7 guys in there for the deep shot to Johnny. He took a hit as he delivered that strike down the field. I mean, they got him in rhythm with basics, vanilla offense, and then just letting him scan the field and make quick decisions. So I don't think that it's any different at this point, Gene, in terms of what you asked Tate to do. The only difference this year is that Florida State is less explosive on the ground in the running game, and that could be a problem overall. And that's the challenge that they're going to face.
And I think they got to think about, too, keeping another tight end from, like you said, max protect. I mean, I think he may need a little bit more protection in this thing. I think that may go a long way. And we saw tonight a couple times he held on to the ball too long, so he's going to need that protection.
Yep. Quick throws, designed quick throws help mitigate that issue, which is he holds on to the ball too long. So we'll see what they do next week. And it's going to be, if Mike Norvell thought he was going to get a good night's sleep tonight after an easy win, he's going right to the drawing board, I would think, tonight. We now go to Winter Haven, and we're speaking to Jordan in Winter Haven. Jordan, we haven't spoken to you in some time, but I remember your call from a couple of years ago. Welcome to the program.
I wish my prediction or my hope would have worked out that year, but everything's going great. I'll try to keep it quick with you guys. Just a really heartbreaking day for all of Nole Nation. Heart goes out to Jordan Travis and his family, and prayers as well. Just a couple things. This game, it just felt like the momentum was just completely pulled out of the game. I mean, we're struggling in the first quarter. It seemed like everything was falling apart. The one thing I want to point out to people, if they have doubt in what this team is if you roll back the clock, 2-3 years ago, we would have gave up. I would honestly say that there's most teams that would have been on the field looking at the scoreboard, looking at the momentum swing, looking at just the emotional toll that you're taking. Most teams would have probably given up. But you didn't see that. You didn't see that on the sidelines. Yeah, you saw guys worried, of course. But everybody got together. They rallied the troops. They got out there, and they made an unbelievable turnaround. I know it's North Alabama. Okay, I get it. But to me, honestly, in my heart of heart, I feel like this is the most significant, well put together team as far as camaraderie and fighting for each other. And I just feel like those that are willing to cash in the entire season based on this single situation or these circumstances is really cutting that whole team short, because they really have put in the time and the effort, and they've built the camaraderie. The second thing is I'm noticing that everybody's disguising the blitz, like they are just getting in the backfield, and that's a huge worry. And you guys had just stated some stuff that I was thinking the same thing. I'm like crossing around short passes to the flats, get the ball in and out. The guy, Tate, has got an insane arm on him. And I think he's good at identifying the defense, but unfortunately when they disguise it, most of the time it seems like it doesn't work out. The other thing was I felt like Brock was like, he looked in that run to me like Jordan Travis, not saying, that he is Jordan Travis, but I just felt, he's got some wheels on him. It was a good play. And at the end of the day, Jordan Travis still is the Tiger King, in my opinion. So
that's true.
That's all I wanted to add. I appreciate you guys, and my heart goes out to everybody in Nole Nation. This was a hard night for everybody.
Thank you, Jordan. We appreciate the call. Good thoughts there across the board. Tate, I think, diagnoses defense pretty well. Defense is pretty well, Gene. It's just the feeling of the pressure is a big part of playing quarterback, and feeling it bearing down on you from either your blind side or, if you're rolling out and there's a free rusher. I mean, Jordan actually hadn't done a very good job of that the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Got a near safety, at least by the rule, the way the ACC officials called it last week. Tate can have issues with that. But in terms of if it's before him and before his eyes, and it's not about rushers, I think he's okay in that department. But you're just, to Ralph's point, you're always afraid of the big mistake with Tate. And I think you're always going to be kind of on pins and needles until there's a lot of data that says that that's beyond him and he's past that. So I think that's where we are with him.
Yeah, Jordan makes an observation on this that sometimes this season, even though they've been generally pretty good on pass blocking, it does seem like they have some issues sometimes picking up some blitzes, and you see guys come free. Sometimes on a running play, same thing, where there's just a gap, and a guy comes flowing through there. So I think they need to shore up their blocking schemes this week because you got a different quarterback back there, and you need to protect him a little bit better. Yeah, Glenn, good point about Glenn. I think Glenn is kind of a little bit in between Tate and Jordan in terms of his mobility, but that's a real part of his game. And it will be, I think we've seen that. And you see it in the NFL now. That's been the trend. I mean, you get guys they don't have to be Lamar Jackson, but the days of Tom Brady and those type of quarterbacks are probably gone. I mean, you need to have some mobility to be able to expand. It just creates so much more pressure on defenses these days that you have to have some mobility there. And Glenn does bring that. So again, I think we're going to have a fun spring with Tate and Glenn battling it out because you got a lot of talent there. And, I had a lot of high hopes for AJ Duffy, but I have a feeling my guess is he won't be here in the spring.
Yeah.
We'll see. If he is, then he may not be here past the spring. But hopefully he is. I'd like for him to hang out and compete. But the fact that the last two times, and there's been a situation to go to that next quarterback, it's been Glenn. As you pointed out, Tom, even after a long injury for Glenn, he was still the next quarterback to come out. That seems to send a very strong signal to AJ Duffy where he is in the pecking order. And now when you bring Cromanhawk in next year, that doesn't bode well for him in terms of competing for a starting job at some point.
Potentially Cromanhawk's here in just a few weeks' time. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, he could drop the fourth string pretty quick.
Yeah, that is true. We now go for the 43rd time in the history of Warchant TV to New York. We're going to the 516. We're talking to Josh, Coach Josh in New York. Welcome to the program, Josh.
Tommy Tom and Gino! I had to still throw it out there like that. I did. Everybody, I know we're feeling it for Jordan, and I feel for him. And he's been a great representation of the university in college football. He's kid has a bright future. I hope he has a speedy recovery. And but I just have to say this, man. We have to throw all the support behind Tate Rodemaker. We have to do it because at the end of the day, Tate is the guy that's up. He's going to have a full week of preparation. He's going to have Coach Norvell putting him in the right situations, where he can succeed. Not where Jordan can succeed, but where he can succeed. And I truly believe it. I truly believe it. This reminds me, I'm a 49er fan, so I know all about quarterbacks getting hurt. And, we have a choice to make now. Are we going to, feel sorry for ourselves, or are we actually going to, do what we have to do to win the game and win the games going forward? And I think we have a team that's good enough that can win all the games on our schedule, including the playoffs. I truly believe that. I believe that Tate is not as bad as some people may think because they might be thinking of freshman year Tate. But I do also think that our team is going to rally around it. I think we're going to have guys that are playing better than what they've been playing like. But I do have a question. And here's the question. The question is, do you think now, and I'm a glass half full guy if you haven't noticed, do you think now, holistically, do we believe that this will give us a better idea of, do we next year go into the portal to get a quarterback? or do we actually see if, Brock could fight it out with Tate? I think AJ is gone. We lost 2 quarterbacks tonight because I think AJ is gone. So that's my question. Like I said, No Nation, we gotta keep our heads up, keep a smile on our face, because at the end of the day, we have a team that's ready to compete. Not just a quarterback, and I know how much Jordan meant to everybody, but we have a team that is ready to compete. We have NFL wide receivers. We have an NFL tight end. We have a NFL defensive line. Well, I mean, I know that Ronaldo Green went down, but man, AZ is good. AZ can play. So let's all take a breath. I know Jordan is hurt, and like I said, I feel for the kid, and I love what he's done for our university. But take a breath and just realize what we have on the other side. A lot of teams wish they have what we have. So let's have a good one, guys, and appreciate you all. Take care.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
The glass half full approach. It's a tough night to be glass half full, but Josh is not deterred, not from the word go of that phone call. And to the question about the portal, do you have any first reactions to that?
No and hell no. They are not going to the portal, Josh. I'm sorry, but there's no, absolutely not. Look, you got a guy who's a crazy experience in Tate. We'll see what he does the next couple of games. You've got a highly regarded recruit. I mean, Glenn was highly regarded. He's come in. He's surpassed, I think, early expectations for what he is. You got Cromenhaw coming in. He's a 5-star now, right, Tom?
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, so he got bumped up to a 5-star. People always think, look, if Caleb Williams wants to not forego the NFL and transfer to Florida State, sure. But realistically, you're not going to get an elite quarterback with all those quarterbacks sitting here to come in, because the odds are, first, they're not going to get the job. And if they're elite somewhere else, they can go to a different school where they can go in and guarantee to get the job. So it's just not a realistic discussion. And I think Florida State is in a good position quarterback-wise going forward. So, no, I mean, they're not going to do that. To Josh's being very positive about this team, you're right. This is still a very good team. The defense, nobody talks about that. Sure, they stumbled a little bit early in this game, but this is a really good defense. And, they're one of the few teams that held Jaden Daniels somewhat in check. No one else has been able to do that, not even Alabama before he got hurt. There's a lot of very positive things about this team, and I think they will rally because they know the offensive line is going to have to play better. The running game is going to have to play better. Some of these other players, the defense is going to have to step more, but they're capable of doing it. There's a lot of talent there. I think they can get it done. So, yes, Josh, I think this is it's a good opportunity for a lot of these guys to really show what they can do.
Phone lines are still lit up. People are reacting. This is just a strange and sad night to be a Florida State Seminole, given what happened in the first quarter tonight for Florida State when Jordan Travis went down with a horrific injury. And we hope that, whatever treatment he's going through right now, wherever he is in the medical centers of Tallahassee, that he and his family are as comfortable as they possibly can be in a very difficult situation. We send our well wishes to 13. But we do need to mention and thank, and we should, as there's been 1,500 plus strong watching this post-game show since the game ended, Gene. It's we thank you all for being a part of this show all season long on the Warchant TV network here. This is a function of warchant.com. Head over to the site for more information on Jordan Travis. We'll have more information here. But this program all season long has been sponsored by our friends at DeLuna Coffee, and they've got a holiday bundle box available now, and it is that season. Can you believe it, folks? It's Thanksgiving week already, and when it's Thanksgiving, It's basically time to start shopping for Christmas. So you can get 2 bags of coffee, a bag of hot cocoa, and a tumbler for only $60 plus shipping. You go to DeLunaCoffee.com for this deal, DeLunaCoffee.com for the DeLuna Coffee Holiday Bundle Box. DeLuna Coffee is available in Publix throughout the state of Florida, west of I-4, all the way through the western border of our state of Florida with Alabama. You go to Publix in the Florida Locals section. That is the Florida Locals section, not the coffee aisle. You will find DeLuna Coffee products. This is what it looks like in your local Publix if you are in that part of the state of Florida. These are individuals that are awesome at DeLuna Coffee. Ed Lemmix, Brett Lemmix, fantastic people. They are very connected in the Pensacola community in terms of giving back to their community with law enforcement organizations and other organizations supporting children. They support Florida State athletics. They support us here at warchant.com. We'll hear a little bit more from them in just a moment. But DeLuna Coffee is an outstanding sponsor, and we thank them for their continued sponsorship of the postgame show this season. We now go to a caller who was inside the building tonight, and it was remarkable for all the wrong reasons in the first quarter tonight. And we now go to the official DMD of Warchant TV. That is Z-Chan. Z-Chan from Thomasville. Go ahead, Z-Chan. Welcome.
Hey, Gene and Tom. Yeah, I mean, there's no words to express how the heartache that everybody feels for Jordan Travis. Man, he's such an amazing individual, just a solid person. Beyond him being an amazing football player, I'm devastated for him that's how his career ends at Florida State. But I tell you what, I was, in the moments after it happened, that first series after it happened, there was just a complete shock in the stadium, and nobody knew what to do, nobody knew what to think. Everybody was just quiet. And then as time went on, it was apparent that everybody was rallying behind this team, and I've been at Doak many times on blowout wins when the stadium clears out about halfway through the third quarter, but it was 70% full late into the game, and I was really glad to see the fans stick it out for Tate, stick it out for the team, and just encourage them in that moment. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how y'all feel. I was very encouraged by Tate tonight. I thought he made overall good decisions. I thought his receivers didn't help him out at all because he dropped the passes. I mean, he went 13 for 23. Easily should have been 17 or 18 for 23. I think it was apparent the difference between he and Jordan is his pocket awareness isn't quite the same. Because where he got sacked a couple times, that's where Jordan would have most of the time eluded him.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that we're a part of we support a team whose fan base is so gives nothing but support and respect, and helped propel this team to a massive victory tonight that they really needed. And I cannot wait to see what we do next week. And win or lose, I know they're going to play their absolute hearts out for Jordan Travis. So that's all I got. I will give my crown real quick, and then I want to hear who y'all's got. I'm actually going to give two tonight. One, obviously, has to go to Tate Rodemaker. The second one, I'm actually going to give it to Patrick Payton. I was really impressed with him on the defensive side of the ball, between his tip passes and his pressures. And I don't know if y'all saw it on TV, but he actually was one of the more visibly shaken up players after Travis got hurt. He was on the sideline. He and a couple other players almost got into it on the sideline, and then he sat down, and I could see from my seat, I could see him crying. And I think there was one shot on Jumbotron, you could see his eyes, and they were just beat red from him crying. And the passion that he played with after that happened was really impressive. And so those are my two crowns. I'll leave it with y'all. Y'all tell me who y'all got. Go Noles. Let's beat the Lizards next week. Let's beat the living daylights out of them.
Right way to be. Z-Chan, do not leave yet. I just got one more question for you, but I appreciate the insight about Patrick Payton.
Yeah.
He is an extremely passionate player.
Yeah.
And that does not surprise me that, the emotion poured out of him in that moment. Trey Benson was the one that was shown on television more than anybody else, being shaken in the moment. After it all happened, Z-Chan, I just want to know, it's never going to feel the same after something like that happens. But at what point did it feel like in the building you were watching a football game again, and you weren't thinking about, the Jordan situation as much? It won't return all the way to normal, but I'm just wondering how long it took for Doak to feel a little bit more like it was a football game you were there to watch. Still there's that.
And Tom, it was probably close to halftime, if not after half. I mean, that whole second quarter, even though, we were scoring open and really got some excitement going. And I think that changed the dynamic a lot. But it was a very weird. It was just very weird until that point, until probably halftime. They had the 2013 team on the field at halftime waiting for the band to get done. And so they were down there at the end of the half when they scored that touchdown right at the end of the half. And watching them run out and celebrate with the players, that was probably about the moment. I think that was the moment when things really turned around and it felt more like a football game again. Because before that, man, it was heavy. There was everybody around us. There was not a whole lot of cheering. I mean, we were cheering some, but man, it was just everybody felt, you could feel the weight of the situation until that moment. And so they scored and were able to go down and celebrate with the 2013 team. I think that was probably the pivotal moment in the tenor of the game. And then after that, it was joyous again.
Yeah. We appreciate it, Z-Chan. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you so much, Z-Chan. That was kind of it for me too, Tom. I think that's when I started at least focus a little bit more on the game in the 2013 because it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
To see those guys down the field and celebrating the touchdown. But still, I'm still a little bit of a haze and a fog, trying to wrap my mind around what happened. And we're not going to see Jordan Travis in an FSU uniform on the field again. It's surreal to me.
It is. It's gutting. We are still efforting an interview from over there at the stadium from our managing editor, Ira Schafel, or lead writer, Corey Clark. If we can get them before the night's out, we will join them and hear the tenor of the press conference, which I'm sure had to be difficult as well. Any insights Florida State was willing to share and from news nuggets in terms of where Jordan is and initial prognosis. If we can share those bits of information with you, we will. We are going to step aside very briefly and have a couple of words from our sponsor, DeLuna Coffee.
But we do have to get crowns. Z-Chan wants our crowns. We'll do that on the flip side, tease it a little bit. So we got to.
There you go. Gene went to broadcasting school in addition to law school. This is why he's the man. We'll be right back in just a moment on the Warchant Gameday Postgame Call Show, brewed up by DeLuna Coffee.
A longtime supporter of Warchant.com programming and Florida State athletics, DeLuna Coffee proudly presents you the Warchant Gameday Postgame Call-In Show. FSU alumni owned and operated. DeLuna Coffee's Ed and Brett Lemmix have a combined 30 years of experience in the coffee industry. DeLuna Coffee's claim to fame is their Blue Angels blend, known as the first ever food or beverage item to be licensed by a military branch. A percentage of proceeds from the Blue Angels blend, Midnight Shift, and High Noon Lawman's blend go to the U.S. Navy Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Program, the Raleigh Foundation of Pensacola, and the Escambia County Sheriff's Foundation, respectively. For a limited time only, DeLuna Coffee's Voodoo Dark Espresso Blend is buy one, get one free. Head over to DeLunaCoffee.com to check out that deal, as well as the Warchant Pick Your Poison Bundle. From west of I-4 all the way through the Florida Panhandle, look for DeLuna Coffee in your local Publix in the Florida Locals section. You can also always head to DeLunaCoffee.com today.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Welcome back to the Warchant Gameday Postgame Call-In Show. Kyle contributing to the program. Thank you, Jordan. He says we agree. So say we all. Jordan, thank you. We were hoping to salute him in a different way on a wonderful career on a senior night, and it was normal for a little while until it wasn't. And now we're playing 4-13 the rest of the way. It's just it's a weird night for Nole Nation. Florida State is 11-0, Gene, but it's just a little bit different. Now, on the positive side, we were going to get to a social post from Jordan Travis. Take a look at this. Thank you very much, Director Ben. This is Jordan Travis watching the end of the game.
How cool is that?
He is watching the end of the game from his hospital bed as Florida State scores on a blocked kick as time expires.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he's saying, hell yeah to Brock Glenn. Congratulations to Brock Glenn on his rushing touchdown. If that doesn't fire you up, I don't know who you are, and I don't know
God,
what
what a great teammate. That is just so cool.
Jordan Travis rooting on Florida State from his hospital bed. That's the content that we're all here for, and this is why they love him. This is why. Look at that, Gene. That's just amazing.
Unbelievable. Well, that's his thought is not, woe is me. It's like, I'm going to watch my team and support my team, and that's awesome. I cannot wait to see him on the sidelines cheering this team on down in Gainesville. I mean, it's that's going to mean a lot to those guys that he's there on there cheering them on. So that's really cool.
Damn, man, awesome. Jordan, you outdid yourself. He could have thrown Gene. He could have gone 27-27 for 450 and 6 touchdowns. That pales in comparison to, we just learned more about who he is as a teammate. We just learned more.
Yeah.
Win it for him. This is it. Next week, the week after, let's get to 13 wins in 13 games for number 13. Yep. That is phenomenal. Wow. Yep. Cool, man. I mean, our best wishes to Jordan out there. We can't say that enough. A couple extra people that we do need to thank here tonight. Quite a few, actually. Let's see who is next. Tony, we praise Mike for turning the program around. The only thing we have not been tested at yet is quarterback depth. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he has prepared the backups for this moment. I could tell you, Tony, in terms of reps during the week of practice, they get a ton. So these will be different. Starters reps are different. There's a different feeling in the air, and there will be this week for practice. We'll have it documented for you all week long at warchant.com here on Warchant TV. But the benefit of the doubt, if I can say that, I'll try it again. The benefit of the doubt. There we go. You got to give it to Mike Norvell. He's earned it at this point. Wouldn't you agree, Gene?
Oh, 100%. I mean, regardless of what happens the next 2, 3, 4 games, whatever it is, I mean, to put Florida State in this position is unbelievable. And I think Florida State, again, I think they're in a rarefied era. They have a quality, competent, experienced backup. I mean, that's just most teams got. I mean, heck, the New York Giants have Danny DeVito frickin' at quarterback. I'm sorry, Tommy DeVito, but whatever. One of the good fellas, he's out there right now. I mean, it's just even the NFL, a lot of these teams don't have competent backups. I think Mike Norvell's done a great job of getting some competent guys back there, and the guys he's recruited that are coming in too. So, I mean, they're in a good position. I'm looking for, I'm obviously would love to have seen Jordan finish this thing out, but it's a good opportunity for Tate. And he knows the system as good as anybody, and he's got a lot of talent around him. Let's see what he can do.
Matt, we thank you for your contribution. I'm behind Tate, but it was so hard to watch after Jordan. Yeah. I followed Jordan since 2019. I had to go get a beer. Love Tate, but it's so sad. Even if we win the Natty, also ran into Eric Hayes tonight. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much for the contribution. And it's just, this has been a career that was trending towards Gene, the dream ending for Jordan. And that it didn't happen that way. He's undefeated in his final season as a starting quarterback at Florida State. That is assured at this point. But now I just keep coming back to it. I am like taken aback on a night that's very emotional. That post on social, that is.
Yeah.
Who said they're running?
I'm not surprised. That's Jordan. That's who he is. That's why he's so loved. That's why it only sucks because he's a great quarterback and he was, potentially leading Florida State to a national championship. And that's we'll see if that's the case anymore, but just the fact of what the kind of teammate and what kind of person he is, that's what makes this so devastating. You want it for him. You want him to be able to finish this thing out on his terms. And unfortunately, the nature of this game, that's not going to happen.
Sky Ninja wants to know who's accountable for how this game played out. Oh, please tell me North Alabama has a great defense. Well, first of all, they don't. I can feel your salt, and I understand it. This is not a night of positive emotion.
No.
If you want to talk about accountability, it's the staff for not having the players ready to go on a game like tonight. Yeah. And there's, you could say like 100 Proof did, jokingly, he was ribbing us. You're not breaking down the game. Well, no, we scored 58 straight to end it. There's a reason. There's no betting line in Vegas. But if you want to talk about a sluggish start or falling for 8 trick plays when maybe 4 would have done, then you could talk about maybe the staff didn't have them ready. But the game was what it was by the end of it. With a backup quarterback, Florida State scored the final 58. I mean,
it's a micro of a sandwich game where, you just beat Miami, who's a huge rival, and it was an emotional game, and you're able to get that done. and you got to go down to Gainesville next week. And, you came out, you're playing a glorified high school team. You came out incredibly flat, and they were going to pull out every trick out of the book. And it worked. I mean, sometimes those teams can do that. It worked for a quarter. And unfortunately, all that went perfectly for them. And it puts you in a weird situation where you decide to run your quarterback, and the nightmare came true.
It did. It did.
There's no. I know the blame game. I know you want to blame them, and yes, you can. As Tom said, the staff didn't have them as prepared as they probably should have been for this game. But it's human nature. It happens, and you see, Ohio State struggled against Maryland today, or I'm sorry, Michigan struggled against Maryland. I mean, it happens every week in college football. You can't be on your game for every single quarter of every single game. It's an unfortunate circumstance, and it sucks.
It's 2 safeties and a defensive touchdown and a 7-point win for Michigan, I think.
Yeah.
That went.
I mean, Maryland, come on.
Yeah.
Didn't Corey once say, "Watch out for Maryland"? Wasn't that
famously
Corey?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was eventually put on a T-shirt. Maryland's going to be a problem. Hey, guys, Tom, always great to hear your analysis. So thank you, Mike. Thoughts on Tate being able to get us these last 2 wins? He can. Then maybe even the playoffs. He can do that much. Then it's up to style points in the committee, and we've discussed that a little bit tonight, Mike. We appreciate the contribution.
Yeah, I think they'll be favored in both. I think they'll be favored against Florida.
Yep.
And I think they'll be favored against Louisville in the ACC championship game. So absolutely, you can get that done. And this team, still, they still have Keon Coleman, still Johnny Wilson. You still have a couple elite tight ends. You still have a really good defense. I mean, you got a lot of things in place for this to be a really good team. Now, I hope we were able to have the discussion of how this team can fare in the playoffs against the Michigans, the Georgias. Let's hopefully get to that point. That's a totally different discussion. And I don't know. I mean, if this team does get through the next couple and maybe Georgia does beat Alabama, they get the number 4 seed, we'll see. I'm not going to be as confident going into those games as I would with Jordan Travis. But for the next 2 games, it's in front of them. They control their destiny, and they should be the team to win the next 2 games.
Give me Michigan, please. I'd like to play Michigan. I think we do okay against them. But other than that, it gets when you play Georgia with Tate. It's a nice proposition. Angela brings positivity to the party always. We will win in the swamp, and I will be there. Safe travels after Thanksgiving, Angela, to the swamp. Get out of there alive without those yokels heckling you too much. And get a win for us, will you please? We'll be here on Warchant TV after that is over. Jonathan, we just handed the committee a reason to move us out of the top 4. They don't respect Jordan when we have him, and now that he's gone, they will penalize us. I think, Gene, would you agree? We were going to be number 5 either way with Washington winning this weekend. Do you agree with that?
I think so. I think the vibes you got, Washington was closing the gap, and then they won a tough game on the road. You can say, I don't know how much the committee actually watched this game. They look at the final score against North Alabama. It's about what everybody expected. But the fact that you've lost your best player, and we documented earlier, they do weigh those things. They've been open about it. So, yeah, I think any slight hesitation, I guarantee when asked about that, the committee, I'm going to assume FSU is going to be 5. And I guarantee you when they're asked about why did Florida State drop number 5, the first thing out of their mouth is going to be talking about Jordan Travis. They're going to bring that up. There's precedent for it, and it's understandable. So, and I think Washington, and I wouldn't have, even if Jordan was still there, I wouldn't have a problem with Washington jumping Florida State. What I would have a problem with if it keeps going down the road, and then a one-loss Alabama team or Georgia team jumps Florida State. That's when we have a problem, and we still may have a problem with that, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully, we get to that point. We're having that debate. And Florida State wins its next 2 games, but Florida State's got to win the next 2 games for that to even become a discussion.
And we'll have documentation for you on Tuesday night on Warchant TV when the selection committee does. It's back to 7 o'clock this week, so we will see what the verdict is. Yeah, not waiting for 84 whistles in the final 2 minutes of a hoops game. Ian McGregor, JT has run the ball a lot of times over his career. That's part of his job. There's no one to blame. It's just a tragic situation. So Ian saying,
absolutely.
Accountability. This is Ian's take. A lot of strong feelings out there. And a night like tonight, I don't blame anybody for feeling any one of them. Last 4 callers. Man, Gene, the lines have been lit up tonight. So these are the last callers. You're already in here. We're going to you. If you're waiting right now, we will get to you. And we start now with Jarrett in Pensacola, although he was at the game tonight, so he's leaving the game. Jarrett, go ahead. Welcome to the program, and thank you for your patience, good sir.
No problem, Tom and Gene. Long time, first time. First things first, I just got to say prayers up for Jordan Travis. Next thing in order, I think Tate Rodemaker is going to do great against Florida next week. I believe that the Rooster Maker is going to send the Gators into a free fall and just make them cry. And my question for y'all, Tom, what are you going to be doing in Houston when we hoist that trophy? Drinking in Houston. Thank y'all for taking my call.
Oh, man. He's asking for a beverage. All right. Well,
I like the second Rooster reference we've had today. So, the Rooster was the Gator killer back that year.
The Rooster Maker. I like that. Gene, what do you think? If we get to Houston and Tate does this thing and Florida State wins it all on the back of Tate Rodemaker, the quarterback, how high class are we going with what I'm drinking in the program?
I think we need to go. I don't know, but first of all we need to get Eric Angel to up the ante on the Kegtacular. We need to do something even beyond that, if that were to happen. But yeah, we need to break out some crazy ass old expensive scotch or something.
Yep.
We all need to do. In unison, the entire staff will open champagne bottles and pour them in our face. How about that?
Yep.
We'll do to ode to Corey Clark.
Yeah, we got to have at least one bottle of Dom or Cristal. I think maybe that's the direction we go.
So we'll have that. We'll have those on ice for the Warchant postgame show ready to go. And I may have to. Yeah, we'll have. We'll do something crazy for it. Man, I hope we're having those discussions. We get to that point.
I just don't know. I can't fathom how it would taste to have a little bit of Dom or Cristal celebrating a Florida State national championship after tonight. What a ride that would be over the next 6 weeks. And let's go on it together, everybody. Let's go on it together. Let's see what happens. It is Florida week after all. We now go to Nichols in Georgia. Nichols, welcome to the program.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's Nicholas.
I thought so, man. I thought so. So Nicholas, go ahead. There we go. Cool.
Yeah, that's all right. How y'all doing tonight?
I'm
doing well, Nicholas. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Obviously, everybody's heartbroken about Travis. Prayers up to him. But to me, from the get-go, it didn't feel right because we on CW Network, and I know a lot of Seminole nations probably didn't even have CW Network. So to me, that's just a bad taste in the mouth altogether. At least we can be on ESPN Plus or ESPN3, whatever. But hey, Tate stepped up, big. Some of those receivers might need to wear 2 gloves since he throws the ball so hard to be able to catch the ball. But all that is chemistry. Once they can fill out his throws, throwing power, and et cetera, then they'll be able to do that with chemistry on the field. And so I think we're going to be fine. He knows the playbook, so it's not like we have a rookie backup in there. He's been there for forever, it seems like. So he knows the playbook very well. And so he's a gunslinger. Can just sling the ball 100 miles an hour. I don't think that needs to change with finesse, because if he tries to finesse the ball, then, that could cause for interceptions. But I think he's confident enough now. He's grown up a little bit. And, hey, I think he's ready. Obviously, J. Trav is a better athlete. But, hey, I'm going to be a positive now. Rodemaker, he might be a better thrower, but hey, as far as an athlete, nobody's better than J. Trav. I'm not taking that away from him. Everybody loves him. Seminole Nation loves him. But on the positive side, hey, let's roll Rodemaker and let's make things happen. And hey, we get Jackson back on defense, and defense gonna stay strong. Defense wins championships. Hey, let's roll with it. Y'all have a blessed night. And before you close your eyes, let's all say a prayer for J. Trav. Amen.
There you go.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you, man. We appreciate that call. Yeah. Positivity for Tate. We're going to need a whole lot of that energy over the next week, Gene. Going to need a lot of it.
And, it's kind of like it may come out. I'm sure more this week we'll talk about this. It's kind of forgotten. Like the guy sticking with the program. Tate Rodemaker could have gone to a lot of programs, transferred in, and been a starter. And that's such a rarity these days that he hung with this program, hung with his teammates, stuck around. It says a lot for his character, a lot for his upbringing that he did that. And now it's paying. Sometimes waiting pays benefits. And now he's in a golden opportunity to prove what he can do. And he's got a talented team around him. So I'm happy for that. And I'm glad Nicholas brought up, and I had it on my list of things to talk about, but in the grand scheme of things, the CW broadcast wasn't on a high priority, but he brought it out. First of all, the ump cam has to go. That was awful. I mean, it's just like I had to look away. I was getting vertigo looking at that. I mean, that ridiculous thing. I mean, it served no purpose. Like, let's put a camera on an umpire's cap and just see. It's just like some crazy experiment. What are you doing? And not of course they had to put Gator James Bates on it. Was me or was he reveling when Florida State was falling behind early? It seemed like he was getting a little too giddy for my liking, and that I'm not a fan of having a freaking Gator doing an FSU game. And maybe it was just me doing that because I was pissed off at how poorly they were playing and how everything was going. It seemed like I could hear him giggling, and I don't know, maybe I was just hearing that, but I don't know, maybe some other people can help me with it. I did not like James Bates doing our game.
Well, he found a way to work 96 in the rematch of the
Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect nothing less if we had a guy in that broadcast and it was a different situation. I'd be like, you get him, whoever it is. But yeah, I agree with you. I heard the tenor as well. But he was good.
Ump cam's got to go, man.
Yeah, and so is the double the feed of the echo during the broadcast half the time.
Oh, that was the worst audio. I saw the beginning. I went for the first quarter to Corner Pocket, and I'm like, Bill, the owner of Corner Pocket, what is wrong with your audio? And he goes, that's the CW feed. It's that bad.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Z-Chan says he's going to get us a bottle of Pappy for everybody.
All right, Z-Chan.
All right. I'll see that, and I'll raise you a glass with some Pappy. Yeah. Thank you, Z-Chan. Appreciate that again. So generous, as always. Our final two callers begin with Kyle in Fort Walton Beach. Kyle, welcome to the program. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Yeah, tough night, but an undefeated night, still the same, Kyle. Go ahead.
That's it. Hey, 11-0, but man, shout out to Jordan Travis. I remember his first few years here. I mean, getting booed off the field and now being a Heisman candidate, or I guess he used to be a Heisman candidate. But man, I just have so much respect for that man. I mean, he stuck with this program through the tough times and brought us back up to the top. I cannot give enough to Jordan Travis, and I hope we beat the damn Gators in the swamp. I'll be there for it. Hopefully, maybe get to meet some of the Warchant crew. I'm not sure where y'all are going to be during that game. But, yeah, go Noles, beat the damn Gators.
There it is. That's the right way to be.
Beat the damn Gators. That's all you need to say, Kyle. Well said. I don't know. We will have. I think we can probably throw that out there, Tom. If we have the graph, or Ben does, for what the events going on in Charlotte. Now, we don't have all the details for what war participation. We will definitely be at the Friday night event there at the Resident Culture. We've partnered up with the Charlotte Seminole Club for that. So we will be there. Any of you that are going to be in Charlotte, we'll see whether we can try to. It's always problematic for us to try to get to tailgates the day of the game. We'll try that one, but definitely the Friday night before. Mm-hmm. We're going to try if we can. We're still trying to vet everything. If we can do a live broadcast from there, we'll see. But at the very least, we'll have a meet and greet with a large majority of our staff. I know Ira, Aslan, Corey, the people you really want to see will be there. So yeah, definitely put that. If you're going to be in Charlotte for the championship game, please stop by the Resident Culture South End on Friday night.
Yeah, that's it. Resident Culture. It is the welcome party. You'll be watching the Pac-12 championship game that night too. Which should be
a lot will be hopefully on the line on that too.
Yep. If we're 12-0, that game is very, very important for us to watch. So we will watch with bated breath. We will see. But looking forward to that. And then next week, I think it's like kind of a standard roadie for us where we lock it in. We lock it in for the even when they're a 5-win team that just choked it away against Mizzou. I mean, they're playing for a bowl. That's what they're playing for. And some might call the Swamp a bowl of some kind, and they might be right about that. But Florida's playing for bowl eligibility. Our final caller of the night is in Miami. We talked to him last week. We talked to him again tonight. It is Michael in Miami. I believe, Michael, were you the one who was driving home with your friends for 8 hours of joy last week?
No, I live in Miami. I live in Miami.
Okay.
Gotcha. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I am. Listen, man, this is a story whose ending has yet to be written. I look at this and, when Miami, at the end of the Miami game, when Tyler Van Dyke came in, right, what were we thinking? Like in our subconscious, we were thinking, oh man, here comes Tyler Van Dyke's big swan song. He's going to come in and lead the Canes and, his big, comeback. This is it. And you know what? it would be, you would think it would be heroic if this happened to Jordan in the playoffs against a Georgia or an Ohio State. But he sacrificed himself tonight. He sacrificed himself for the good of the team because he wanted to lead that team, and he wanted to show the team that no matter who you are playing, whether it's FCS Northern Alabama or the Ohio States or Georgias of the world, you go out 100%. We needed a spark. He's like, I'm going to show you how it's done. I want everybody to get on. He was, and he went out there and he ran his ass off. And yeah, what happened, happened. But he sacrificed himself for the good of the team. And I hope these guys all see that before every play they play against the Gators next week and against Louisville the next week. Because I know we're going to beat the Gators and I know we're going to beat Louisville. Now, when we get to the playoffs, I don't know, because these guys got big defensive lines in there, much better competition in terms of that. And I'm a little worried about that. But it's almost like I don't want to get biblical because I'm not really a Christian. It's like a Christ-like thing. You sacrifice yourself so that everybody could understand what it takes to win at that level. And that's what Jordan did tonight. He ended up sacrificing himself just to show everybody how tough you have to be against everybody in every play. Just like Mike Norvell said, if we don't play our best tonight, we're not doing a good service to the game. We're not respecting the game. It doesn't matter who you are playing. And I hope that we don't let this injury happen in vain. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to happen for nothing. I want it to lead to everything. I want the story to be written. I want the epic to end with us holding that trophy. And I believe we can still do it, and I think you see those guys. It's just like when Toafili ran in the end zone and the 2013 team mobbed him. And you just saw the family atmosphere, man. And the crowd got louder and louder against an FCS team. We were sold out and it just got more raucous towards the end of that game. And then the way it ended, come on, man, it can't end like this. It can't end like this, and it won't end like this. I thank you guys for taking my call, man. But just remember, JT, yeah, you're in our thoughts, man, but I will not forget what he gave. So let's not take what he gave us in vain, and let's just respect it and play harder and just do it. Let's make this the most epic ending of a season. This is just the part of the movie that the adversity hits, and then it always comes out in the end. That movie has to be written, and it has to be written about this season. That's all I'm going to say. I love you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it.
Oh, what a great call.
Michael wants to write that screenplay. He's itching to write that screenplay.
Michael's got me psyched up, man. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, they need, and this is it. They need to rally around Travis. And I think that is the hope that this team can still do some great things, is they're going to take this as inspiration. What he has given to this team. It's time to get back and ride that to the next several weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know, Tom. What do you think? I mean, is it going to be, I know he's going to be in that locker room. He's going to be on that sideline. They know what he represents. They know what he gave for this team. It's got to be inspirational for him.
It will be moving forward. I mean, it started tonight. Jordan, the leader, the cheerleader in a way, started tonight. And, he'll be a big part of practice this week too. Preparation. Dude is selfless when it comes down to it. He is. My favorite moment this season, Gene, now that it's weird to say, but it's over for Jordan, is the second quarter on the road at Clemson. Offense is doing nothing, and they're not able to run the ball. They ended up running for 22 yards that entire day, and most of it came on the first drive of the game. And Jordan puts it all on his back, just like he did last year against Florida here. His final game against the Gators was last year. Damn, that hurts. But what a way to finish your career against Florida last season, when guys are dropping passes left and right. And, there's 3 and 4 pass rushers that it's just, they're going through the turnstile in a subway system. And it's you making them miss or it doesn't happen. It's you making a play or it doesn't happen. And it did for Jordan. And, now it's a different chapter. It'll be interesting. He'll have him fired up. It's just that you got to call the game a little differently for Tate. So we'll see how Tate does. It's going to be a long week of waiting until that 7:00 kick next Saturday night. A couple more contributions late to the program. The last honking lives in Columbus, and he's pissed at Ohio State fans saying they should be in the playoffs as a one-loss team instead of an undefeated
They're already
FSU.
they're already conceding losing to the rival Michigan?
I guess so.
What kind of fans are those?
It's strange fans, strange indeed. These are weird times. It's probably the wee hours of the morning, so they're saying weird stuff. Yuckmouth, always at the end. Thank you very much, Yuckmouth. Appreciate the show. Y'all help me cope. Jordan Travis forever, top 3 Nole quarterback all time. We still control destiny, our own destiny. The team has heart and will finish strong. Go Noles. In terms of importance, Gina, I don't know about quarterback aptitude that Jordan's top 3. You can argue it, but in terms of importance to the program, that's hard to argue against.
Yeah.
What Jordan symbolizes in terms of what he started with and what he finished with. The other guys who won the Heisman Trophy were a part of 14 straight. The first 2 were 14 straight years of being a top 4 team, Gene. And then, Jameis had a 12-win Florida State team the year prior. Or might have been 11 at the end of it. But at any rate, it was
and he had NFL players all around him, too. That's the thing.
Yeah, for those 3 quarterbacks, it was a well-oiled, well-stocked from the recruiting ranks machine. Jordan did not arrive here with that. And he's made it so much better than he found it.
It's his own, his story is unique.
Yeah.
And you have the pantheon of all the Florida State quarterbacks, and there's been some great ones. Nobody's had the journey he's had, and I think that's what makes it so remarkable and what makes it so painful that it ended the way it did tonight. But yeah, it's and he's so important. Today was a microcosm. What happened in that injury is what he does. He does right when this team needs his spark. He knows exactly what to do to get them there. And they've won so many games when it looked like things were trending in the wrong direction, and he flips that switch, and it's a totally different animal. And that's it's what he's done his whole career at Florida State, and he did it tonight. And unfortunately, he got hurt on the play, and we don't need to go through that again. But yeah, it's a unique story. He's definitely, we'll have the debates later about whether he's on the Mount Rushmore or where he fits in the legends of Florida State. But the thing is, this program is on such healthy ground right now. You're having a top 5 recruiting class going in. You're poised to maybe make the playoffs, win an ACC championship. All these great things are happening to the program. And this is a program we worried about its future a couple of years ago. Where would this program be? Is it going to die on the vine? And now it's flourishing, and Jordan's a big part of that. And we may look back a few years from now, if Florida State, whether it's in the SEC or the Big Ten or wherever they end up, hopefully, and Florida State's flourishing, we may look back and go, Jordan's a big reason why Florida State's where it is.
This is why we appreciate every victory, or you should.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get on a given night. And then in that sense, tonight is it's rotten that way. We were thinking a lot of backups in the game. We'll join you in the fourth quarter. This is going to be a simple hour post-game show on to Florida. This has been 2 hours of vetting something very, very serious here and something very sad for Florida State. And again, from the hospital bed, clearly he's already there rooting on his teammates. We wish you very, very well, Jordan Travis. We're going to take one more quick break and then set up what's coming up on the channel, what's coming up on the website in the next 24 to 48 hours. This is the final break on the Warchant Gameday Postgame call-in show brewed up by our friends at DeLuna Coffee.
A longtime supporter of Warchant.com programming and Florida State athletics, DeLuna Coffee proudly presents you the Warchant Gameday Postgame call-in show. FSU alumni owned and operated. DeLuna Coffee's Ed and Brett Lemmix have a combined 30 years of experience in the coffee industry. DeLuna Coffee's claim to fame is their Blue Angels blend, known as the first ever food or beverage item to be licensed by a military branch. A percentage of proceeds from the Blue Angels blend, Midnight Shift, and High Noon Lawman's blend go to the U.S. Navy Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Program, the Raleigh Foundation of Pensacola, and the Escambia County Sheriff's Foundation, respectively. For a limited time only, DeLuna Coffee's Voodoo Dark Espresso Blend is buy one, get one free. Head over to DeLunaCoffee.com to check out that deal, as well as the Warchant Pick Your Poison Bundle. From west of I-4 all the way through the Florida Panhandle, look for DeLuna Coffee in your local Publix in the Florida Locals section. You can also always head to DeLunaCoffee.com today.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
And so it is on a Sunday morning now, just about 20 after the hour here on Sunday, November the 19th of Thanksgiving week. We wish you all out there a happy and safe Thanksgiving. If you're traveling around the country to go see loved ones and break bread with your family and friends, be safe out there. Be safe on the roadways, and hopefully you don't deal with too many delays in the airports around this country. We wish you at warchant.com and Warchant TV the happiest of Thanksgivings, and we will see you on the other side for this program late at night next Saturday for Florida State at Florida. Cannot wait for that. But Florida State will be doing so, Gene, and we'll be documenting on warchant.com and Warchant TV the journey for Florida State now without Jordan Travis in 2023. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
Interesting question.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yeah, just have great times. Enjoy these times with friends and family, especially during football season. There's nothing better than sitting around and having football on and putting a few adult beverage back, and then just gorging yourself with delicious food. It's good times. And we did. I forgot, Z-Chan. We didn't do our crowns. So before we sign off, yes, there we go, the crowns. So he had brought up Peyton, and I saw the official stats. It said he had 2 breakups. Did he have 3, Tom?
I think it might have been 3. Yeah.
I thought he had 3, but I think we would be remiss of not bringing it up. We had brought him up because, unfortunately, we got sidetracked with, unfortunately, all the stuff with Jordan. But Jerry and Jones, the incredible day he had today. He had a sack. Obviously, he had 3 tackles for loss. He had the sack, forced a fumble, and had an incredible interception too. That was a lot of fun too. So really good outing for Jerry in today. So if I'm giving crowns, he definitely gets one of my crowns tonight.
Well, you took mine. So what I will do, there's a lot of options tonight. There are. I'll go with Keziah Holmes, who ran hard, caught a touchdown, ran for a touchdown. That dude is going to be fun to watch over the next little while here at Florida State because everybody, Gene, loves a guy who gets downhill and runs physically, and Keziah loves to do that. And on a night when you need a little bit of passion, somebody to bring the fans to their feet with some physicality to get past the sadness of the Jordan Travis loss, Keziah Holmes did that a couple times. So I'll give him credit for energizing the stadium. So that's my crown of the evening. Coming up tomorrow on the channel, we'll have more fallout. Unfortunately, we have to report and speculate and discuss Jordan Travis' injury and the implications. So there'll be more coverage here on Warchant TV for that. If you want to hear from the head coach, Mike Norvell, you can do so right now. I'm going to get in the habit of doing this before we sign off, but I will do it before we leave tonight. But linking the Mike Norvell press conference in the chat. So it's easier for everybody there. So you can just click on the link once we're done and go find Mike Norvell's post-game press conference. This is one that I'm sure is a somber press conference. That the relationship between Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis has been the one that has put Florida State in a position to be where they are, which is fighting for the college football playoff. And that link is now in the chat. So you can find that on the channel. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Sunday Smash. It'll be Ira Schofel and myself. We'll be doing the Sunday Smash at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And, of course, Monday, you can expect first thing on the channel and in your podcast feeds, Wake Up Warchant with Corey and Aslan Hadjavandis, recaps of the game. And then 1 o'clock, Monday afternoon, the Jeff Cameron Show's take on the things that we saw this week and then getting ready for the game. I cannot stand. This is the one for me, Gene. Everybody has different takes on who their rivals are. For me, going to school here from 06 to 09, Florida was so good and we were so not. And so any chance I can get to right the wrongs of being an undergrad here and not getting a single win over the University of Florida.
How much does that suck? You had to be an undergrad during the Tebow years.
Oh, and you know what? He was their package quarterback in 06 when we lost 21-14 here in Tallahassee. And it was Chris Leak was the quarterback. They ended up going on to win the title that year, which was
and we almost had him beat on that kick return. I remember was it and it just almost
could
I hope that didn't knock them out.
We had great field position that day. They did not. We came up a couple plays short. So this is the one that means a lot to me. We look forward to talking about that all week long. That's on the channel side, but on the website side, Gene, I know it starts tonight with Corey's column, which
I'm looking forward. I'm really looking forward to what Corey has to say in his perspective. Obviously, the resident Warchant historian, and putting in perspective what this means for the program, what it means for this season, and Jordan, everything else. So we'll have that obviously, and usually by Monday. Ira's 321 column is a big part of the website, and Ira always does a great job. That's one of our probably most popular written feature that we have every week. I'll do probably an abbreviate. I just don't think I'll have PFF grades. I'll put something up in the morning tomorrow, but just not really a big deal. I don't put much weight in a game like this, what they really say going forward. But again, you mentioned some of the shows. I would also talk about it's going to be a very interesting show Tuesday night live as we have our live look-in during the playoff committee's rankings will be disclosed to see what's going to happen. Then I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, because again, I do not anticipate Florida State holding on to that number 4 spot. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of very upset fans, and they're going to want to discuss it heatedly. What is happening there? What does that portend? What does that mean going forward for Florida State? So a lot of very interesting stuff playing that. And of course, we'll hope to find out where Jordan is with his recovery. What's the extent of, as much as we can, hopefully get an update on his injury, and then practice updates all week. How Tate's doing, how he's doing with the ones, and how that looking is going to this all important season finale against the Gators.
So we want to make sure we strike the right tone on a night like tonight. But if you do want more coverage at warchant.com, head over to the website now. It's just $1 for 2 months if you use the code FSU and the number 1 as a promo code when you sign up. Of course, not trying to be tone deaf this evening. It's just it's a rough night to be a Nole, but there's a lot of coverage to come this week against Florida, the ACC championship. Yeah, that's the football side, and maybe a playoff right behind that. But signing day is December the 20th, and Florida State is they have a top 3 class in their crosshairs and maybe a top 2 class if a couple of big things happen over the next week. So if you want all those developments, head over to the website, warchant.com. It is $1 for 2 months. Use the promo code FSU and the number 1 when you sign up. And we appreciate it. We had a lot of people tell us today at Indigo that they had converted after being a YouTube Warchant member, subscriber, to getting over to the site. So please give us a chance. We wish it was under better circumstances, the news that we're reporting, but this is going to be a fascinating week. So we thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight, to all the callers. Thank you very much, Terry, behind the scenes screening those calls. We thank you to everybody in the chat that participated. Thousands of chat messages over the last couple of hours. It's just incredible how active you all are, and we thank you for all that. Noel Buck, Noel the People, Joshua, Jared, Noel Kev, Clinton, first name John, Z-Chan, Johnny Zeno, Bryn Gardner, Christy, Garrett, Florida Man in Texas, Ian, Marcus. I mean, look at this list. You guys are just way too generous. We appreciate you. Wealth Influencer, Tony, Matt, Sky Ninja, Ryan, Mike, Dean, Lowell, Angela, Jonathan, Gordon, Kyle, The Last Honkening, and Yuckmouth. You all are fantastic, and we really appreciate your support. And to Director Ben behind the scenes, thank you very much for piloting.
Great job, Ben.
Another safe journey, and for bringing us also to, was it HBK that tipped us off on the social media thing? Thank you to the live chatter HBK, but then Ben bringing it so we could see what Jordan posted. That was my highlight of the night. And thank you as always, Gene. This is the home finale. It's not the finale, but it's another one we crossed off the list. Thank you for riding shotgun with me all season long here.
Yeah, I'm hoping we've got another 4 of these, and hopefully every single one will be positive. But either way, we'll be with you for the ride, FSU fans. We love doing this. It's great. I had this idea of being able to share the passion or our thoughts with fans right after a game, because something I grew up with listening on the radio on the way back from games and hearing the callers call in. I used to love that. And so I'm glad we're able to bring that to you. And even it's cathartic to some extent, sharing times like this when something, tragic happens to a Florida State player. And I think it helps us all to talk through it. And so, yeah, hoping the best for Jordan, and, go Noles.
This has been make this the final word, the win music. The epic story of teamwork shall prevail. Do it for 13, everybody. Do it for 13, and send your well wishes, your prayers, your intentions for Jordan. And this will be an interesting week to come. For Gene, I'm Tom. Good night, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Warchant Game Day Postgame Call-In Show, brewed up by our friends at DeLuna Coffee. Happy Thanksgiving.